everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. I'm Ben Hansen, and this is a place about games, friends getting better. I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello.
I'm joined by Jeff Marchiafava.
Hello.
I'm joined by Janet Garcia.
Hello.
And fun fact, if you actually check the pitch on that with, I don't know what device, I assume something that looks like the Ghostbusters PKG meter or something, you'll see that it was perfectly...
That's what you use to tune a guitar. Yeah.
Right, that's perfectly in pitch. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a big episode of the podcast. We have way too much to talk about on this episode of the podcast. It's going to be a packed one. Plus, full heads up, Janet, I blame you partially because you're connected to Kind of Funny, and there's rumbling of some gigantic news that's about to drop at any second. So if we're completely out of date with this podcast, it's not my fault, it's Greg Miller's fault.
Well, there's NASA was teasing some announcement today. Is that what it's related to?
I don't know. Janet, do you have any insight into this?
They found aliens.
That's not important. Jeff, keep it down,
I don't
please.
have any insight, and if I did have any insight, I wouldn't say what I had.
All right. Well, at any point, you can just shout.
That nixes the thing I just said also, so there you go.
Very confusing. Well, hey, we have so much to talk about on this episode of the podcast, but before we get to any of it whatsoever, we have an announcement to make because it's the season of announcements. We are ready, everybody, to announce what game we're tackling next for the deepest dive. Are you ready, Jeffum?
Ready, sir.
Here we go, everybody. The next deepest dive will be, drumroll, please. That's right, everybody. No one saw it coming. It's Chrono Cross, the big remaster of Chrono Cross. If you know your MinnMax history, and we're going to quiz you on it later if you claim you do, back in 2020, it was right at the start of 2020, we did the deepest dive on Chrono Trigger and had a blast. And so many people with that deepest dive were screaming, do Chrono Cross next, you cowards. Come on, Chrono Cross. Now, I love Chrono Cross. I have not played this game since it originally came out, so it's been 22 years, I suppose, somewhere around there since I've played this thing. And we were holding out because we wanted to do it, but we wanted to get to the point where maybe these rumors of a remaster would come true. And now it is officially happening, everybody. So we're not going to reveal the full cast of who's going to be joining us for this, but I will say Kyle Hilliard will be joining us.
Yeah, first time play. I've only played it probably like 3 hours. That's the most Chrono Cross I've played. I always get stuck at the start screen and just let that loop for a while.
It's so
before
beautiful.
I actually go play the game.
And you played it like back in the day for like 3 hours?
Yeah, like I had the PS1 disc and a PlayStation.
Oh,
I think I played it on a PlayStation 2 if you want to time and place it.
And I do very much so. But yes, this is Chrono Cross, everybody. So we are tackling this. It is going to be out on absolutely everything on April 7th. It is going to be a 4-parter. This is going to be a fun marathon for the Deepest Dive. If you're not familiar with the Deepest Dive, it's a huge community game club discussion. You can submit your thoughts on the game and play along with us, and then we'll read it during our discussion by supporting us at any tier on Patreon. Otherwise, if you want to unlock the podcast version of this discussion, you can support us at the $5 tier on Patreon. Otherwise, the full discussion will be up on YouTube as well for your watching convenience, but it's going to be a long one, so we'd appreciate it if you wanted to help support the Game Club format and jump in to get the podcast version. But the first stopping point, my dearest Kyle, it's going to be that Monday, so that's April 11th, and the first stopping point for Chrono Cross is once you complete Viper Manor. Viper Manor. That is the stopping point for the first discussion, but there's going to be so much to talk about. Kyle, I have so many fond memories about Chrono Cross. I'm looking forward to just this being a huge gush fest. And then I'm sure I'm going to hit those moments of like, oh, that's right. This was a JRPG from the PlayStation 1. I'm sure there's going to be some frustrating dungeons and stuff in there.
You know what? Actually, I'm thinking this is crazy to say, but I think it might be the first PS1 JRPG I will have beaten.
Oh my God. All right. So you're very much the rookie in this scenario, and everybody else might be ready to love the hell out of this thing. Hey, we got a community question. Sent the Prophet. Let's jump in a little bit early. They say, hey, is the new PlayStation Plus model too complicated? Beyond comparing the detail between Game Pass, I think the biggest win is the simplicity of the Game Pass tier versus this 3-tier system for the new PlayStation Plus. My bet is that in a year's time, the tiers will be simplified. All right, that's a great question, Sent. Ultimately, it is a little messy. Probably not too complicated, but there's a lot.
Game Pass, ultimately?
Yeah. I guess that's true, Janet. That's a great way to put it. We should unpack what this thing is, because this week, the long rumored PlayStation Spartacus the way it was being pitched is, hey, this is kind of the competition for Game Pass. This is Sony's attempt to try and get more subscription dollars out of each and every last one of you. This thing was unveiled, and there are now 3 tiers that are going to be coming later in 2022 for PlayStation Plus. Okay, real quick. PlayStation Plus Essential, which is what you have now. Everything will roughly be the same. PlayStation Plus Extra, that is going to be a bonus thing where it's going to be $15 a month. And also, they say it'll have a catalog of up to 400 of the most enjoyable PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games. Then there's, and Jeff, I'm hold on to your butt for this one, there's PlayStation Plus Premium, which is going to be $18 a month. And they say this is going to add up to 340 additional games, including PlayStation 3 games, PlayStation 2 games, PlayStation 1 games, a lot of stuff. So basically with this, PlayStation Now, which is their whole streaming service, is being combined or thrown out the window. It's all merging together for this rebooted PlayStation Plus. Janet, you seem pretty clued in on this whole ecosystem. What was your hot take for the revamped PlayStation Plus coming?
It's tough because my hot take is like the rumor was true, which like this leaked like a month ago with like all this, almost all the same information. I don't know. I mean, I think it is a step in the right direction, but it is still not enough. I think especially with it being PS Plus Premium, like the highest tier, which is, like I said, 18 or 120 a year. Like it's the same deal of like, it's cheaper if you buy the year. That's essentially what you were paying if you had PS Now and PS Plus. So like for people that had PS Now, like this is great because it seems like they might just be adding additional games because like that 400 a number I'm pretty sure is like way higher than the PS4 games that they did have on PS Now, and there were no PS5 games on PS Now, like when PS Now was a thing. So like that's in addition, which it's called extra. So like that's a little bit of extra for you. But the PS Plus Premium is basically, it's like they split PS Now in half, put it in 2 different tiers, but then also like made it a little bit better. So like overall, again, it is more enticing than what they had with PS Now because it's better marketing, it's more cohesive, and they've also like split it up a little bit so that if you don't want to like just go all in on like what feels like just a streaming service, even though you can download some of the games, but a lot of people just remember, oh, PS Now, that's that stream thing, right? Like it was sort of just forever tainted from that. So even though this is offering a lot of the same things, it's kind of a refresh, and it gets people to at least maybe consider that extra tier or pulling the, like finally, like not pulling the plug, but like making the jump right to premium, where like those same people might not have just also bought PS Now, even though it's essentially almost the same service. I think the big thing though is going to be, what does that library look like? What are these games actually going to be, and are they like interesting enough that you want to make that leap? The
confusing phrasing here that I'm still trying to wrap my brain around is when they say up to 400 games. And it's like, well, anybody could say that. Weird. Up to an infinite amount of games will be coming in the subscription. And so I feel like once they start revealing what is actually going to be in that catalog, that's going to be a whole nother push for this. And especially once they start really tugging on the nostalgic strings for like, and the heartstrings for the PlayStation Plus Premium thing of like, hey, just think you could have all these PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games ready to go. Jeff, did this move a needle for you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in a weird way, I think as I was reading through the tiers and I got to that, I read the second tier. Okay, that's where that's kind of the Game Pass Ultimate equivalent or whatever, but not quite as good as Game Pass. And then when I read the third tier, I was like, oh, thank God I don't have to worry about that one, because honestly, like I don't care about going back and playing old PS2 and PS1 games. It's weird that was kind of like the enticer for like the big. That is the exciting thing. The most expensive tier. I don't know if you're aware of this, Jeff. It's not doing anything for me because I didn't own a PS1 and PS2. I don't have a bunch of love for those games, but it's also like those are going to be the ones that translate worse. Like I want to play, the modern games. That's what's going to be the biggest drive for me of whether I'm going to buy into this ecosystem.
But maybe this is finally your chance to really embrace that PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 catalog of games, man.
I'm sure they all look beautiful.
Well, look, they got a certain charm to them. But if you're interested,
Puppeteer holds up. It doesn't stream well though, so I'm still not going to play it on there. But
and nothing streams well. I'm so underwhelmed
Jungle,
by this
I think
thing.
was fine, though I might have downloaded that one. I don't remember.
I'm so underwhelmed by this that it's actually making me re-examine if I even want to keep paying for PlayStation Plus.
What, really?
Wow.
Yeah, like I just don't care. I'm so confused. I mean, like I feel like I'm really coming off negative here, but I don't even understand why there was excitement around it. Like, it's just another subscription service. Like, I don't know. Maybe I was just in a bad mood when it was announced, but I was like, I don't care about any of this. I think I'm going to cancel PlayStation Plus. That's like how underwhelmed I am by it all.
I think the reason there's excitement is because Game Pass is seen as objectively the greatest deal in the history of gaming. Like,
this is like the opposite. It's backwards facing. It's all looking towards behind us, where Game Pass, the positive benefit of Game Pass is it's like it puts really interesting indies in front of you that you don't have to pay for, that you don't feel like you have to pay for. And like I said, maybe I'm just in a bad mood about all this, but like it really turned me off in a weird way. I was kind of surprised how like bad a taste it left in my mouth, honestly. I was like, I don't want any of this.
I think the thing is, like, the big question mark is still what is going to be in that middle tier in terms of the selection of games. And I think we are all confident in saying it's not going to be day and date with Sony's big releases.
Right.
Like it may be a mid, like kind of a B tier releases they may push indie or, like Sony exclusives if they're not.
Well, they've said explicitly we won't see like first party Sony stuff, right?
Well,
like
on day one. So what they did say,
okay.
It seems like it's getting close though. So they said that Death Stranding is going to be in there, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is a good get, Mortal Kombat 11, which sure, I think that's everywhere. Returnal though, Kyle, don't you want a chance to play Returnal?
Yeah, the game I bought. And
don't you want a chance to play it again? So that's going to be in there. So they're inching closer, but GamesIndustry.biz had an interview with big old Jim Ryan from PlayStation, and they're obviously asking him about like, hey, the reason we like Game Pass is because like Microsoft throws all of their games right when they launch in there, and it's amazing. And so Jim Ryan said to GameIndustry.biz, in terms of putting our own games into this service or any of our services upon the release, as you well know, this is not a road that we've gone down in the past, and it's not a road that we're going to go down with this new service. We feel if we were to do that with the games that we make at PlayStation Studios, that virtuous cycle of production will be broken. The level of investment that we need to make in our studios would not be possible, and we think the knock-on effect on the quality of the games we make would not be something that gamers want. Which is an interesting take. Obviously, he understands the cost of production better than I do, and maybe that says something about the strength of Sony's first party versus Microsoft's first party strength right now, at least. Obviously, they're poised to annihilate with how many potential exclusives they can get in the future.
Microsoft just spent $70 billion on their first party games, and they're still figuring out how to make it work into a subscription. But I guess I can appreciate that take on it of like, well, we spend a ton of money on these first party games. Yeah. Like they are beloved by pretty much everyone. And we don't want to mess with that formula yet. This really feels like we have one step in the pool now. We'll see how it does revenue wise, and we can figure out from there.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And he also said, I think, I don't know what the follow-up question was from GameIndustry.biz, probably just like, really though? Because he said, hey, the world is the way the world is changing so very quickly at the moment, nothing is forever. Who would have said even 4 years ago that you would see AAA PlayStation IP being published on PC? So he's very much leaving the door open for like, if this thing takes off, or it feels like we are far behind, or so many people jump in that we can sustain spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these first-party games, then maybe they would eventually get to it.
Yeah, but the weird thing about it is like, well, how are they going to quantify that though? Like if it becomes a big hit and they're still selling you these games on top of that subscription, then what point would there be to just start rolling those into the subscription? Yeah. It would almost have to do poorly, but then at that point it's like, well, I don't know, like, so what? Now we're going to cut the revenue that we get from selling first party games and tie it into this thing that isn't doing well. It doesn't seem to be a good way to quantify how you're going to change that in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we ran a Twitter poll from the MinnMax account just to see where
Twitter polls how we decide.
Hell yeah.
that's what they should do.
The future is Twitter polls.
You listening, Tim Terry?
But I asked like, hey, what are you going to go with? What tier are you jumping for? 32% say they're going to stay where they are, PlayStation Plus Essential. 13.5% are going for PlayStation Plus Extra, which is, the PS4 and PS5 games, 23.4 are going to go all in with the PlayStation Plus Premium. So, Jeff, that's the percentage of people that are interested in retro games. So that's why you're wrong.
There you go.
I was really surprised to see, because I ran essentially the same poll on my Twitter, and the results were also the same. So there you have it.
Suspicious.
We have no other tests needed. That is the opinion of gamers. But I think because I'm like, well, I feel like the PS Plus Premium, like, what are the odds of me playing like those old games? Well, how many of them can I even download that I'm going to want to play? And then what's the point? Like, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to say I'm not going to get that tier, because maybe I will, but I'm not like, oh my God, this is clearly the best choice for me personally as a player. I thought the Plus Extra was like way more appealing or intriguing. I think the reason that almost no one goes for the second is it's the soda thing,
the
would you like a large
upsell.
And it's like, only $20 more a year and I get the large. So why am I and also PS Plus Premium, you don't have to think. And that's with the other ones, it's like, do I want just to keep my base one? Do I want to get the other one and then wait and see? They're like, what if I just got the third one and I give you $120 and I don't got to think about it, and we can just walk away? Because these subscriptions are really about they're not about playing. It's never been about playing the games. My gym membership, $10 a month. I haven't been there in a couple months. I'll be on, I'll have Netflix, Hulu, all of them running at once and not have watched anything in plenty of months. It's there for when you need it. And as long as you have enough, I think, hits coming in that you turn and look, that thing I paid for, it has something I want to play. If that happens enough, I think that's enough to hold people over. Where Kyle, to your point with PS, now it's called PS Plus Essential. I also feel like I really just have that so that I don't have to worry if I ever want to play online, because admittedly, I don't play most of those games that I get for free. I've either already gotten them or I never wanted them. And people, get mad that I don't redeem them all, but I'm like, I'm not going to play this. I've never heard of this game. I have no interest in this game.
You never know,
There's
Janet.
no version of myself that's good. Yeah, you never know. I'm like, I can't, why am I'm just redeeming them because I paid for them already. And I'm like, I don't care. But, I don't know. So that's, I think, why the third one seems to be first stay the same or go third seem to be the most popular options.
Yeah.
Honestly, if part of the middle tier bonus was you don't have to redeem them and we'll just add them to your account, I probably
right.
That's very smart. By the way, they opened that entire blog post with Jim Ryan saying, since launching PlayStation Plus in 2010, Sony Interactive Entertainment has been at the forefront of innovation with game subscription services. It struck me as one of those weird moves of you were first and now you're not as good as the other one. You don't get points at this point, dude, just for being but we were first. So here's why you should pay extra attention to this one.
But they weren't first, right?
PlayStation
I guess
Plus.
because gold, you had to pay
blog.
for gold.
He can write whatever he wants.
Oh, interesting.
You had to pay for gold.
Right.
Pretty much at the launch of the 360, right?
Yeah.
But
and PS3
PlayStation Plus had the free games. That was unique to PlayStation.
There we go.
Pioneers. Yeah, that was their way of selling the Sony generation of, well, this was free last generation, but now we're giving you a little extra.
Yeah. Hey, Janet, I opened up YouTube on my phone the other day, and I saw your face front and center.
Yes.
And then I looked at it and it was on the PlayStation channel. It was just this thumbnail of you. I was stunned.
Go look this up.
Well, I assume it's gone now, but it was before Media Molecule's Dreams Awards. They had the thumbnail for the live stream that was going to go live, and it was just of your face. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I was like, I guess they didn't make a custom thumbnail for this. They probably should
Why
have, but
wouldn't
I'm
they?
going to take it. Everyone, I got so many tweets about it. It was really cool, and thank God it was not a horrendous still. Because as someone that posts on YouTube, I too see the mock. Do you want to pick this hideous photo of yourself? And I'm like, no thanks. I'll just upload my own thumbnail. So yeah, thank God I looked normal in it. But yeah that was cool. That has no bearing on my opinion of the PlayStation tiers. Okay, but I was a judge in the Impies with Greg and Bless and other people involved and stuff. So
yeah, and we were asked to be judges in the past. I guess we weren't this year, Jeff, but we shouldn't be insulted. Even though we never stopped kissing Dreams' ass, we should not be insulted no matter what. Okay.
Yeah, we did not mention Dreams once last year.
Well, I streamed it with Sarah. We streamed all those bad horse games. What do they want from us?
You did not.
It was great. It was great.
That
you?
never happened.
You're confusing dreams with your the things that you see when you fall asleep again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just because you have a dream doesn't mean.
Hey, isn't it kind of weird that we like see our dreams when we sleep, but our eyes are closed?
Whoa.
How high have you gotten? Is that even like legalized where you're at? Or
No,
like,
it's not. But we find ways. We find ways to get around it. Let's see. Out this week, we should mention Weird West is coming out on Friday, which Leo talked about a little bit last week on the podcast, and he seems very into it. It's an immersive sim from the co-creator of Dishonored and the co-founder of Arcane. But Jeffem, you watched that for New Show Plus this week. Did you have a hot takeaway from Weird
Yes,
West based on what you saw?
Yeah, it looks really interesting. It was the first immersive sim that I've seen from like kind of like an isometric perspective.
Yeah.
And I guess the one thing that stood out to me, and that we got a couple comments in the chat, a lot of people were asking, can you just pause the game? You know, like, is it kind of like real-time tactics games will let you pause it and figure stuff out, and you can't do that. But he was doing a lot of cool looking stuff in there, and a lot of different systems interplaying with each other, which you would expect from the genre, but it looks really cool.
I don't know.
And it's on Game Pass Ultimate day and date, so
there we go, everybody.
Guess you can check it out.
It feels like maybe the game that Leo Vader is going to be championing as his number one at the end of the year, so we'll see how it all shakes out. Wow. Seems very up his alley.
He seemed he wasn't super in love with the combat.
Okay.
But he was liking everything else that it was doing. So
gotcha.
He's going to play more. We'll see.
It'll be his Riders Republic this year. They're pretty similar, it seems like. Yeah.
Pretty much the same game. But we should talk about another big game that came out. This is...
Are you doing an auction right now?
It did sound a little bit
Here's
like
what
that.
happens. Every time I stumble over my own words, I try and cover it up and make it seem like it was intentional and I was just being silly. I promise to everybody watching, listening, I'm never being silly. I just genuinely have no control over my tongue at any point. But hey, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is out. Gearbox's hot new game. I've played a little bit. Kyle, you've played a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, Jeff.
I played it for like 2 nights.
2 nights. Wow.
So,
and Jeff doesn't sleep, so that's huge. And then Janet, biggest caveat in the world.
Yeah, I did sponsored like content with like 2K for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and I beat the game. So
it's impressive.
There you go.
Okay, so you have a lot of thoughts, but everything's with a small asterisk of if you want to factor that in, obviously.
Yeah.
All that fun stuff. Jeff, since you were the biggest Borderlands fan here, I think I am most curious about your take, but let me soften it by jumping in here. I genuinely am very early in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. If you're not familiar, it is a new take on basically the Borderlands systems and ideas, where it's now based on the DLC for Borderlands 2, which has the character of Tiny Tina kind of walking you through a D&D campaign, except fake D&D. And so it's more fantasy-based, it's very jokey, but you still ultimately have guns. That's a confusing thing. It's like, I thought it was all going to be like pure fantasy to have a bunch of swords and stuff, but they made all these guns for Borderlands. Let's go ahead and just reuse all those with some new skins and stuff like that. But I am enjoying this game a lot more than I expected. Like I'm enjoying this game more than I've enjoyed any Borderlands game. But that said, like, I'm not a huge Borderlands fan. But Jeffem, as somebody who used to love Borderlands, I'm curious for your hot take on this thing.
Yeah, I guess I am enjoying it a little more than I expected.
Okay, there it is.
And I feel like, I feel bad being introduced as the resident Borderlands fan, because I plateaued probably with the first game and all the DLC that came out for it. And then I've been slowly cooling on it more and more, but I was the one who always ended up being the reviewer for it at GI.
How much of that was like the comedy was turning you off?
A fair amount is the comedy, which I will put on me. Like there's a lot of caveats in this of, I feel like half of it is me and half of it is kind of just the restrictions of the form, kind of the series as a whole, like the limitations that are kind of baked into that kind of game that were all the reasons that I loved it. I loved the fact when the first Borderlands came out, had 1 billion different, guns, which was something that shooters didn't do then. And I love the art style and stuff like that, but it's like, where do you go in those two regards? And there's just not a lot of room. But to its credit, and the reason that I said I like this one a little more is they have definitely found a different narrative bent to take the game, and that's what I've been enjoying. The idea of having Tiny Tina kind of narrating this adventure as you're going through it. I like the fact that I'm shooting skeletons. You shoot a lot of skeletons, so that has already kind of gotten old. But just that novelty of having new enemies and a new setting, and then having Tiny Tina, narrate things and just kind of throw in stuff and be like, well, actually, there's going to be a bridge here now, and the bridge just kind of pops up. Like that kind of creativity and fun. That has made it more fun again than I was worried I was going to not get out of it.
Yeah, it's a weird first quarter for games, and both Horizon and this has Ashley Birch maybe talking more than people would like, but I will say, because Ashley Birch plays Tiny Tina, like I like Tiny Tina in this game so far. Maybe at hour number 30 I'll be driven insane every time she's screaming, but like I think it works. I like wacky, silly Ashley Birch, I think, more than serious Ashley Birch for acting.
Ashley Birch does a great job. The other thing is I like everyone on the voice cast. They have Will Arnett and Wanda Sykes and a bunch. They're all doing great jobs, and so that definitely helps. Even though kind of the underlying humor I'm over, and like, which again, that's on me. If I'm not judging anyone for enjoing that kind of humor,
you're fine.
But it's like, man, we're still doing Butt Stallion, huh?
Look.
And not only are we still doing Butt Stallion, but Butt Stallion is like a main character now of just like, hey man, remember that joke from Borderlands 1 or 2, like 10 years ago? Like, let's continue with.
And it's bizarre to think that like, oh, that joke was probably written by Anthony Birch for Borderlands 2, and now like his sister is still like carrying the legacy of this one-off stupid joke of a butt stallion for being a big component of this game. But I genuinely have laughed a couple times playing this game. Like just stupid little things, like you kill a skeleton early on and he goes, oh, I have so much to unlive for. It's like, you know what? Mm-hmm. That's enough for me. I think that's funny. Or like there's someone like you have to rescue some peasant early on. They're like, I gotta save this stupid peasant ass. And then you go talk to the peasant and they're like, thank you for saving my peasant ass. Like, very dumb, immature stuff, but it's still, it got me more than any Borderlands games got me.
In the world of dumb humor, they still have smart writers who, will come up with funny twists like that. I think there was at one point, Tiny Teen was talking about how the Skellies are attacking this village. She was like, oh, the Skellies are eating people's feet. And that was just funny to me.
That's all you need.
That got a giggle out of me.
Yeah. Janet, do you have big thoughts on this? Did you enjoy it more or less than you thought?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I played Borderlands 3, but did not finish it. Right. I did not like Borderlands 3. I kind of hated Borderlands 3. And not just because I worked on the guide of it, but like I played by myself, and I know you're not supposed to play like Borderlands games by yourself. But like I also played this one by myself. Like I'm rolling by myself. Like y'all, I'm of the mind, if I can play your game by myself, I should be able to enjoy it by myself, or don't let me. So that's how I played those games. I'm also not a fan of like the Borderlands humor either, specifically like the sexual humor. Like I find their sex jokes just to be very unfunny and like middle school boy-esque. And I think that's why I like the writing a lot more in Tiny Tina's than Borderlands 3, because it is still like dumb and of Borderlands, but it's like dumb in a fun, cheeky, like life commentary way, and not in a, oh, it's funny that like you can shoot someone in the groin and it says they were like expletived, or like welcome to the sex dungeon. I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. Like that's weird to me. Right. This doesn't have that. So I found the writing to be a lot more generally enjoyable. Eventually, like some things do wear thin because Tiny Tina has a very abrasive personality. So like you're either, if you vibe with that, you're gonna be cool with it. But if it annoys you, like that is her persona. So
that is the game. Yeah,
that's gonna be like a taste thing. But gameplay wise, and to Borderlands' credit, like I've always appreciated the gunplay and the variety of weapons and the creativity in the weapons, and of course the art style has always been gorgeous. What I liked about this game is the D&D structure of it. So like just to give people an idea if they haven't really played it or like know much about it. is essentially like you are playing a D&D campaign, and that's why Tiny is narrating it. And like the overworld is basically like a D&D board, and you're kind of going to like.
Which we should really highlight, because I was so delighted by that. I mean, I think people are kind of fried in open world games right now, and the idea that they're embracing the nerdiness of this, that this game feels like it's coming from the passion of a bunch of RPG fans and tabletop fans at Gearbox. But then the fact that there's no open world, that it's just a world map. It feels just like an old PlayStation 1 RPG. Say like a Chrono Cross. Well, I guess that's a bad example because the Chrono Cross world map is a little bit different. But, it just feels like you're going back to like a Final Fantasy VII world map or something. And I'm just so delighted to see any game, even if it's a cheeky, jokey construct, to go back to that in some way.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that as well. Like I have a bunch of like things that I liked, but also things that I have beef with in this game. It's like a bit of a mixed bag. Overall, I did enjoy my time, but I do think little things like how slow you move when you walk across that map, how convoluted the fast travel system is. And I'd say my number one gripe with this game is the repetitive nature of the quests, which again, I know like some people are like, I'm just here to like, shoot things and hang out with my friends and stuff. But again, like I think that doesn't mean that you can't critique like the quest structure. Like every quest is get thing and actually you got to kill somebody, or like you don't have to kill somebody, but just kidding, they betrayed you and now you have to kill them. And I just wish there was a little bit like more creativity in that. I also had some beefs with like the level structuring of it, where like the suggested level was always like 2 or 3 ahead of where I was, and I felt like the main campaign never got me where I need to be level wise, so I had to go grind, and then I had to sort of pick, like I was forced to pick something to do instead of getting to like naturally be curious and enjoy and check out stuff. But again, like some of the things I really liked, like you can knock down like these bottle caps and make these shortcuts on the world map. And
that's fun.
Like I said, I think some of the lore stuff is really fun. Like they have like weird like takes on folk tales, like Jack and the Beanstalk and like the Tooth Fairy, and some of that stuff is like really fun and interesting. Yeah, basically,
Okay.
yeah, it's like it's Shrek but with guns, but not as good as that sounds, because that sounds awesome. But like it's not, it's not quite that wavy. But I do think if it's such a mix for me, because it's gotten really good reviews, which I was sort of like lightly surprised by. I thought it'd be more in the 7s, and a lot of people were more in like the 8s and higher, which is great. For those who are really enjoying it. I am curious to know, and like I guess we don't really have like the best cast to answer this, but playing this as a non-Borderlands fan, I was like, I like this because it's a little bit less Borderlands-y, but does that mean fans of Borderlands will feel like this is just a nerfed Borderlands? Ultimately, I feel like this is a fun deviation, but I don't think it's quite different enough for people that weren't that into Borderlands. Like it kind of feels like it wants to deviate, but it doesn't have the guts to fully take that creativity and really make something fresh. And that part was a little bit disappointing for me.
I mean, it is such a weird game that I think, not to call it a budget game, but the idea that, they're reusing some assets, obviously some guns from Borderlands and stuff, unless they're completely new guns compared to Borderlands 3, which I would be shocked by, but I guess it's possible. So I don't know how much, with a game this weird and like a comedy game, I don't know if they could have swung harder realistically for how much this thing costs, And like, I think even just not having Borderlands in the title of this thing, they have Wonderlands, like that's still a little bit of a swing, They're not calling it Borderlands, the D&D adventure. Like it would have been so easy to do that. So it feels like they're taking as big of a swing as they probably could production wise with this thing.
Oh, we should talk about the classing too. Like, what do you guys expect as? There's like a multi-classing system that's a big part of like the angle of like how they've talked about this game in the lead up. So like, what are you guys playing as? Like, have you gotten to pick a second class yet? I'm not sure when you get to do that, but
no, I haven't gotten the second class. I went for like the kind of creature master guy. That seemed fun.
Okay,
that seemed fun.
I did the Stabomancer, which I haven't even used really the stealth skill, but you do send out a giant whirling blade, which is kind of fun. But it was, I kept on leveling up, and then it was like, okay, you've unlocked your character, like your character class's special feat, and you should start using FEAT this time. You should start using that special feat. And I looked at it, and mine was just like 30% plus crit chance happening. I was like, okay, I guess I'll go creatively use those extra crit hits. It was very underwhelming for what that was.
There's one person here whose silence is deafening. I'm disturbed by how quiet they are. Because Kyle, you started playing this, right? You just have nothing to say about it?
I mean, I really just don't have a lot to add. I thought there were jokes that got me. I thought it was funny. I always like to hear Andy Samberg and things. But it was very much like the first time I got a gun in my hand and skeletons popped out and I started walking backwards and shooting skeletons. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is Borderlands. I don't think I'm interested in playing this right now.
Yeah.
I think I'm good. But I certainly wasn't offended by it or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. It's available on damn near everything, and also there's crossplay and everything, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, if you're interested, on the Epic Game Store. And yeah,
Do you think it'll make the 210s?
No. I don't think so.
No, probably not. But again, and I really think that's us. And the thing that I have always appreciated and always said is that I know there are a ton of Borderlands fans. Like most of production at GI were Borderlands fans, and they were always hugely excited for the next Borderlands game came out, and I felt like such an ass being the one reviewing them and being like, it's more Borderlands. I don't know if that's what I want. I feel like if you are fans of Borderlands, you're probably fully on board with Tiny Tina already.
Yep.
And I do think this is a really creative way to kind of shake up at least some of the stuff, if not the underlying system.
Yeah, Jawarhello watching us live at the Backstage Pass tier, which you can jump into and watch us live every single week. They say, as a big Borderlands fan, this might be my favorite game of the series. It's definitely my favorite game of the year so far. So yeah, I think there are going to be millions and millions of people who are big Borderlands fans that will probably enjoy the hell out of this.
Yeah, I think especially because like a lot of, just really quick, like Borderlands 3, obviously a lot of people liked it, but like having casually like talked to like people that are more into Borderlands than I am, they're like, yeah, 3 was fine, but like I didn't really like the writing or the story or the characters, and I think that like this, so many of those elements are more likable and more enjoyable, and in my opinion, done better. So if like that was your gripe, I think people are in for like, you know, a treat or a surprise. And then if you're, you know, not that interested in it, like for me, like I'm not a big Borderlands fan. I still enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm not rushing to like have it as a must play personally, but it surprised me that it kind of stuck around in a solid way. And playing it alone, it was a lot easier than playing Borderlands 3 alone. Playing Borderlands 3 by yourself, it's hard. Like it was too hard, like, because the enemies are really spongy because it's meant for like big arena things. I found this to be a lot more approachable, even solo, which I liked.
Right on. Hey, do you all hear that?
No.
It's the sound of an addition. Sarah Podzorsky, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. The pregnant pause. Welcome, Sarah. Hey, we wanted to have you on because we wanted to talk about Breath of the Wild, and you said you cannot talk about Breath of the Wild without me. I forbid you.
I did not
officially
say that. I thought you were going to say Kirby.
Oh, look, we'll talk about Kirby in a bit. We'll talk about all this stuff. But we should talk.
Disrespecting Kirby this entire week.
That is true.
Disrespecting Kirby.
Hang on. Am I being accused of... Why am I disrespecting Kirby? How am I disrespecting...
Because you forgot that his game came out. You forgot who's playing it. Like, you're so like tuned out of it.
You said Kirby was trash, were your exact words.
Hey,
and not because he ate a bag of trash.
Right.
I was also thinking that same joke.
Pure Kirby.
You play as Waddle Dee, Bandana Waddle Dee, and that's really bringing you down.
I think, hey, can I be honest with everybody here on this podcast?
I can try.
I don't think I respect Kirby. I think it is true.
Wait, legitimately? Are you
can't say that.
No one is
revealing
surprised
yourself
right
as a
now.
Kirby hater?
I'm not a hater. I've played and enjoyed several games, but I played the demo for Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and I was not exactly blown away. And I feel like it's a terrible spot to be in, to be the one that's poo-pooing just the most lovable, cute game of all time. But that is the tone I have in my heart of like, look, it can't be that good, right? The new Kirby game.
Man, I'll back you up a little bit. I remember playing Epic Yarn, and it's almost like too light sometimes, right? Like Kirby in general, where it's just
there's
like
depth if you're willing to go there.
Fun at a certain point, but I'm liking Forgotten Lands. To be clear, I'm enjoying it.
There is depth, Janet.
But yeah, well, are we already? I didn't want to like ruin the order that you had intended. Are we already in? Are we in Kirby Land now? Are we in the Forgotten Land?
Yeah, we're in the Forgotten Land, baby.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have mentioned that they're like, oh yeah, Kirby, like, I don't know, like I knew it was easy, but like it's too easy. And for me, the joy of Kirby has always been in the spectacle of what you're doing, like the design, what you're looking at, the things you can become, and also like the challenge comes if you want to like find all this stuff, because actually like 100%ing things, like in the first world it's pretty easy, by like the second, third, like it starts to get a little bit more challenging. Like there's challenge there if you want it. It is like a challenge of mind and your curiosity. Now, if you don't find that challenge appealing, then maybe you don't have like a lot to do. Like there is a world where Kirby isn't for people, but like there is plenty there. I feel like people are like, I don't get it. I'm just walking to the right. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not challenged in a lot of games, but it can still be enjoyable to navigate the design and explore.
I have often thought that Hansen lacks the mind and creativity for most things. So,
well, you say
Kirby included.
It's challenging the mind. What are you doing? You're like going around and you're finding a coin hidden somewhere in the level? Is that?
I will say, Ben,
Yeah.
I felt like the demo did the full game a disservice.
Ooh, okay.
In my mind.
Yeah.
So I played through the demo, same as you, and then I played through it again in the main game, and there's a lot of stuff. Like they left out the overworld. They left out all of like Waddle Dee Town. They left out a really cute music video when you're a car.
Music video? What?
Yeah. They left out a really cute music video about being a car.
Yeah, that's great.
Wait.
So it's like literally the demo did this game a disservice, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean,
You know, you can work at a cafe in this game.
Yeah.
that does sound good. And honestly, building up like that Waddle Dee Town, I remember seeing that in one of those Nintendo Direct things. I'm like, that's something. So you're saying the consensus is I should actually try this game?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, here's the thing. This is, again, getting back to the core disrespect angle. Because, like, Sarah, you're streaming it. But also, I don't know, you like 3D Sonic games. Like, you like some just light...
Whoa.
Like, none of us haven't played
you
a bad
do
game.
not. It's not
All of
the same.
Hansen, like you look at Hansen's library and it's just nothing but bangers there. Like, is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Ben?
Hello, have you played Frequency on the PlayStation 2? But no,
No,
Sarah,
has anyone? No.
no, that's the problem. It's the greatest game. But Sarah,
Well,
Yo,
If
wait
it's
for
in
the tier,
amplitude like a
Premium
gold.
tier.
If it's in the premium tier, I'm gonna hit it up.
Yep.
I'm just trying to
for
figure
you.
out from like Sarah, from your perspective, playing this game, is it like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
streaming it? It's like the cute, pink, wonderful thing. Isn't this a good time? Or is it actually like, no, this game is genuinely good?
It's not a Mario Odyssey, but it is
Yes.
a Luigi's Mansion.
Ooh,
In my
that's
opinion.
a great way to put it. Okay.
It's not like Breath of the Wild. It's not like an S tier Nintendo game, but it is an A tier because there's just like there's such childhood joy in it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this is gonna sound weird, but the mouthful mode really does add a lot. Like I
mouthful
never
mode's
knew I
fire.
wanted to be Kirby
And
as
now,
a boomerang.
Hanson, can you cut to Sarah's reaction to when they revealed?
yeah, cut to when I
mouthful
got
mode?
disgusted by it.
right. She filled
previously.
her mouth with puke when she saw it for the
Yeah.
first time. Yeah.
It is a
But
little
it's just a
perverse,
joy.
but it's
yeah,
worth
it is a little weird.
Like, don't knock it till you try it, because like you do that mouth for like you can become a vending machine and shoot cans at people. Like, you're trying to tell me this game isn't good? No, you can't. Like, you can. I'm sure they gave Kirby a gun. Like, and
Yeah.
then when you upgrade the gun, second gun,
2 guns.
2 guns.
Dual wielding
Laura
Kirby.
Croft.
Yeah, you're dual wheel. Yeah, you're everything. He's the pink ball that does it all.
Are you, Janet, you playing co-op then?
No, I'm playing by myself because I invited like my brother like came by, you know, like in our apartment, and I'm like, you want to jump in, drop in, drop out? He's like, no, I bet it's gonna suck. Now I haven't tried it yet. Let me know if y'all played it and if you think it's good. It looks like it'd be fine.
Yeah.
And same with my boyfriend, where I'm like, hey, do you want to, you know, you could jump in? He's like, no, I'll just watch you play. So I'm like, that's fine. I don't need. I'll Kirby by myself. It's fine. But
Is
no,
this
I'm not
like
playing co-op.
fragile masculinity coming to terms with how absolutely adorable
No,
Kirby
they're both gonna
is?
play it, but they want to play it by themselves, which is fair because you know.
To step in here, Janet, I think watching it is almost the same experience as playing co-op, because Bandana Waddle Dee, which is I've taken that bullet and I'm playing as Bandana Waddle Dee
yeah.
while my daughter plays as Kirby, is I'm just kind of following around and hitting stuff with a spike, and that's like all he can do. Waddle Dee can't take on new powers and solve puzzles and stuff. He's just kind of around.
But he does
He's
get
just
to ride
around.
the back of the car. When
That
you
is
turn
cute.
to the
That's
car,
very
he just
cute.
gets to ride onto the back.
It does seem cute. So I hate to frame this entire episode in terms of predict the 210s, but like, do we think Kirby's going to do well in the 210s? Is it to that point?
I think so.
Okay.
Because if I were to review, like I'm not reviewing this game, but if
Yeah.
I were, I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 5 or aka like an 8 out of 10. And I think anything that's at that caliber probably has a pretty good chance of being in the 210s.
Yeah.
I think in a weaker year, like things that are at like a 7 or a 3 can also get in there. Not that that can still happen this year, but this year I feel like there's so many games that are great or amazing / masterpieces that unfortunately some of the games that we might, you know, enjoy, but like don't have that fire for, they might not make the cut just because there's so much good stuff. But yeah, Kirby, like I have so far I can't even think of really anything I don't like about the game. I guess the fact that you have to type in the codes, like if you guys did the little Waddle Dee town, you have to hand type the codes you find. I'm like, just let me don't make me write this out on the console. Like I have very little gripes so far about 2 worlds in. So still pretty early.
Sometimes they hide the Waddle Dees a little too well. Or like sometimes you can like, because there's no backtracking. So once you go past, it's easy to accidentally go past a point, and then you just have to play the level again. But it's like, that's if you're looking to 100% clear, but that's really annoying.
Kind of a
like
Kirby thing.
Yeah, you see 2 doors and you're like 50% chance this is the hidden room with the Waddle Dee in it. 50% chance this is going to take me past the hidden room with the Waddle Dee in it, and I miss it entirely.
Yeah.
I do like that at the town they have, what is his name again? Like Dr. Professor? Wise Waddle Dee, yes.
Wise Waddle Dee and Weapon Shop Waddle Dee, who works in the weapon shop.
Also, great crafting animation.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
I haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Well, like, because on the note of missing stuff, like it isn't, it's really just for fun, like to find this stuff. But they do have all of the copy abilities have the ability to be like leveled up if you find like the crafting recipe for it, and then you basically bring it to like the town, like the weapon keeper who like makes the upgrade. But you have to find those in the worlds. And I was like, oh man, that's the thing I definitely want to make sure I find as I play, because I want to get like the upgrades, even though again, don't really need them because like the combat's not hard, but like I want to be like as OP as possible. And the Wise Waddle Dee will tell you like if you're missing any. I haven't missed any so far. I've only done like 2 worlds, but like I like that they have that little additional hint or help system for something that is like so much more tied to the actual gameplay. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting layers here. Like we haven't even talked about like the side challenge areas, which are some of my favorite parts of the game.
Huh. They seem cool.
I will say it might be the only game, in the last few weeks that actually benefits by releasing around the same time as Elden Ring, because like I played and beat Elden Ring, I started Tunic, and then I went back and beat Elden Ring again, and then I finished Tunic, and I was like, Kirby or Final Fantasy, I was like, I don't think I'm ready for like another sort of tough action game. So I was like, let's just take Kirby's the breather after 2 tough. I had a hard time with Tunic. I struggled with Tunic, but I did finish it. So it's nice to have Kirby there ready to go.
Yeah. What'd you end up thinking about Tunic?
I liked it okay. I wasn't like blown away by it.
Really?
I think it's a little aimless for me. Like I felt like I was always lost. And like sometimes that meant I had that beautiful revelation moment where I figured something out. Yeah. But 9 times out of 10, I just like walked around for way too long to find this little corner that I needed to get into. And like, I was like, am I in the right place? Is this where I'm supposed to go? Like,
I thought that's what you weirdos like, Kyle. You like puzzles and mystery and intrigue and all that stuff.
I don't, but I think I like being given a puzzle and having to solve it. I don't like not knowing where that puzzle is.
Okay.
Right? Like it's like I literally like I ended the game with more money than I could possibly spend on anything because I spent so much time sort of walking around and not being sure where to go. Yeah. But like everything else about the game, like combat's very cool, especially the upgrades you get near the end are really great. There's one in particular that kind of makes it start feeling like Hyperlight Drifter, which is like very cool, and it looks amazing. It's like looks great. Kind of reminded me of Fez sometimes, kind of reminded me of Hyperlight Drifter sometimes.
That's the big thing.
That stuff's great.
I've heard so many people compare this to Fez that in my mind I was like, well, it's Fez Zelda. Obviously, Kyle's going to love this.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I kind of was like, at a certain point, I was kind of like, I should love this more.
Right.
Like, this really seems like I should be into this more. But I ended up walking away with like, it was good. You know?
Huh. Yeah. Janet, in retrospect, you're still loving Tunic?
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really great.
There it is. There it is, everybody. There's the
I heard everybody said like a lot of stuff about it. Like, go back to the other episode that you can't. Like, really, you want me to talk more, Hanson? I think it was the first time that feedback in my whole freaking life.
No,
the game is good.
The game is good. Hey, we should talk about that other option real quick, though, before we get to the big one. This freaking Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. We talked about it a little week. The other week, I was trying to wrap my mind around it. And then, Sarah, you've streamed 8 hours of this bad boy.
8 hours of my life. Stolen.
What's your take on Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin?
This is one of those games where the demo made it seem a lot better than the actual game was.
Ooh, because it's just
I will say.
Okay.
Because in the demo you get a lot of like more cutscenes, you get a lot of like more characterization, and then post demo, you're just kind of in the level grind where you're like, go here, go here, go here. And then if you want to know what's happening, you have to read the auto-scrolling text to kind of figure out what's going on with the story.
Yeah.
And it's an insane story. Like, truly, I don't know what's going on at any point. And it seems like the cutscenes cut off the minute things become slightly coherent. It'll be like, and then fade to black.
Do you think that's an intentional thing? Because Jack doesn't understand where he is and what he is?
Can they just not afford more cutscene? Like, did the budget run out like halfway through this cutscene?
Yeah, Sarah,
I mean, it is funny that the intro for the game, I did start it, by the way, despite what I was just saying about Kirby and stuff, is that it is very much like, all right, here's your mission, fade to black, fade from black. Wow, we really did that mission, didn't we? But for me, like, weirdly, it kind of works because it's like if they're going for like an NES storytelling vibe,
because it's all supposed to be Final Fantasy 1. Yeah,
like they're kind of nailing it because it's like it moves really fast and kind of doesn't make sense. It feels like an NES story to me in a weird way. So maybe they're successful in that regard. I don't know.
I think if you played early Final Fantasy games, you should definitely check this out for the nostalgia of it. But I didn't start playing Final Fantasy until 10 onwards. So I am just like not in the loop on anything that's going on.
Right.
It's like I don't get like the inside joke of things. I'm like, what's happening?
I mean, to be clear, like the first Final Fantasy I played was like 7. Like I don't have nostalgia for like the NES Final Fantasies. It just feels like a very old school style of storytelling.
Yeah.
But like with the visuals of a modern game. And if that's what they're going for, I kind of like it. And I think it's weird in that way. But in terms of like, you know, characters that I want to see what's happening next. Oh, like utter spectacular failure, but
sure.
but engaging and interesting because it's like I think they're trying to like tell this like they told old NES games, and it kind of works that way.
Well, this is the part that I feel like historians are going to be hung up on when they look back at 2022. The number one question will be, how self-aware were the creators of Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin? Like, Sarah, you spent time in Japan, you technically worked on a Square game. Scale of 1 to 10, how self-aware are they with what this game is all about?
Like, the cynic in me wants to say like a 4.
Okay.
Because I feel like there really is a disconnect between like what Japan thinks the West will like and what the West actually likes.
Right.
When I was at least working there was a huge like miscommunication. Like we just don't see eye to eye on some things. So I don't know if they thought that we would think like cool man McGee, like doesn't want to watch cutscenes. Like he is the kind of person who skips through cutscenes in video games.
Yeah.
And at the end goes, I don't understand what happened. Like that is his character,
that
like
is
the
Jack.
main character in the game. He skips all the cutscenes and he's like, I don't know what's going on. So yeah, the cynic in me wants to say they had no clue that he was going to be received in more of like a humorous way.
Right.
But I really I don't know. I have no clue.
What a mystery. Okay, so you're cooling out in a big way. Do you think you're going to finish it, Sarah?
I think I might finish it. I'm going to have to wait because it's still nostalgic to see like the Final Fantasy classes. Like I love Red Mage, Black Mage. Like they'll get me with that.
Yeah.
They only had one Final Fantasy 14 level, and I think if they like teased more of it, I would maybe want to play more.
Okay.
But yeah, like it's definitely not a like. I think if you can pick it up and just like sprint through it,
right,
that's the best way to do it.
If that's
just pick it up and then just like go.
Okay.
Just keep going. Don't stop.
Don't think.
Don't stop.
No matter what, don't think while playing Final Fantasy Origin.
Play.
Something we didn't talk about last time we talked about on the podcast. I am still amazed in that game, like how much loot you get. It's literally like one dungeon.
Talk about that for a second.
It is like one dungeon. You get like 15 pieces of armor. It's more than any other game.
Your inventory fills up, and then you can't pick up any more, and you have to literally hand throw out every piece of armor that they give you.
Oh my god! And it's so much.
And you can't not pick it up.
Oh.
And every enemy drops 5 things. Every treasure chest drops like 5 pieces of armor, and you have to pick it. It auto picks up.
Yuck!
You can't like trash it to like make new currency or anything like that.
You can trash it, but there's like 60 pieces of armor. Like this is like Excel documents of armor that you've somehow collected in like a 20-minute level.
Yuck. Hey, real quick, just mopping up all of Sarah's cool streaming games. I saw you're streaming Ghostwire Tokyo yesterday, and it's a game that we talked about a little bit in the past. Jeff, have you got a chance to play it yet?
Yeah, that was what I played it for a couple hours last night after I unceremoniously bid farewell to Tiny Tina.
Okay, Janet, you haven't played it, right? But you're lightly curious. Was that the read?
Yeah. I
that's
feel
where
like
I'm at.
I get the vibe that I kind of don't need to play it because it's maybe not that good. So I don't know if I will get to it because I'm like, maybe I should spend my time doing other stuff. But am I wrong?
I don't know. Yeah, Kyle, have you played more just for the full landscape?
No,
here?
just those first 2 chapters. It's
Okay.
I wanted to play Tunic, but that's like I want to get back to it. I was engaged enough where it's like I want to continue.
Yeah, Sarah, what's your read after 4 hours with this thing?
I think
High pitch.
I've never wanted a game that I wanted something more from than Ghostwire Tokyo. It's really an incredible. It's incredible visually. They literally, it's the closest one-to-one of Shibuya I've ever seen.
That's so
like
cool.
I could literally take you on the tour and be like, this is where the Taco Bell is. This is the Burger King I ate at. If we go over here, like this is where the 8-4 towers are. It is incredibly detailed.
Yeah.
You go into homes and it's like konbinis and it's like they've taken so much time and care on crafting the environment. It's worth checking out for that if you're interested in Japan.
Yeah.
It is so cool. But then it's like, I love Japanese folklore, and I feel like they're leaving me wanting more with the Japanese folklore and the ghost stories, because I think Japan has such a rich history of like ghosts and yokai and like demons. It's so cool. And it's like the best they could do was like a headless schoolgirl. And I'm like, wait. You have like all this amazing history to pull from. And the best you can do is a headless schoolgirl and Slender Man. And then it's like the main narrative.
With an umbrella.
Slender Man with an umbrella. And the main narrative is a lot more human focused than I wanted it to be. I feel like I'm at the movie and somebody's head is blocking my view of the screen, and it's this narrative. I'm like, wait a second. Like, that's a cat. That's
Wait, so do you want them to be headless or not, Sarah?
I want them to stop blocking my view of like the good Japanese folklore that I want to experience. And I'm like, get out of my way.
Yeah.
Like with your streetwear and your fucking masks. Like, I'm trying to see the yokai.
Okay, so some asterisks on this one for the enjoyment.
Yeah.
Because, I've heard other podcasts talk about like, oh, it's kind of a more conventional boilerplate open world experience than I was expecting. But Jeff, do you have a hot take so far?
Yeah, I guess it was also more open world than I was expecting. Like when we had seen it before, they have kind of the flying bird guys that you can grapple to, and we were kind of suspecting like, well, that seems like very, very specific of like areas that they want you to get to.
Yeah.
But I've been like all over the rooftops and like figured out ways to get up and climb on things much more than I was expecting. So I kind of like, as Sarah said, they did a great job making the city, and I feel like I do get to climb around and look at places a lot. There's just, when you do fight combat, like I've only seen, 3 or 4 different types of combat. And it is funny, like in the menus, they list the idea behind it. And it feels very much like these were all very first draft, like, hey, let's throw some ideas up on a board of what we can make characters into. It's like this woman is the type of woman who has just like internalized all criticism, and she's like just always trying to make people happy, and so she blows like orbs at you, and that's that character. And this guy, he's like he's a businessman, I guess, but he has an umbrella, but that umbrella symbolizes this thing. And that's this character. And it feels like, wow, like this is the best that you could do. Like Sarah said, there's this history here that you could be pulling ideas from, and it all feels very superficial of enemy designs.
Huh. It's on PlayStation 5. This is where I just go back to the template.
I have been enjoying. Yeah, I have been enjoying exploring more. Than
it is the best Shibuya walking simulator I have ever played.
Okay, all right, that's something.
Like it is really well created.
Hey, I was checking out your stream for a bit, Sarah, and you threw some.
Do you only watch my stream? Do you watch anything else?
No, honestly, yeah. When I turn on my TV, it's just you streaming. I feel like that's all my life is at this point. Genuinely, this is my life last night, and I was like, I'm being pretty cool. Like I had the place to myself, and so I went to a pizza place and I got a bunch of wings and breadsticks. I was like, what am I going to watch while I'm just eating
No pizza?
wings? No pizza. I had that a couple days ago. I've
Just wings and
Is there not a wing
breadsticks?
place that you could have gone to instead?
Honestly, these wings are pretty
That was
solid.
my first thought,
No,
too.
the wings are solid here.
Pizza wings.
The
Speaking for the
point is,
community
I was
here.
like, how do I really savor this moment? What do I watch along with this? And I just pulled up Sarah's stream and just sat there like a weirdo. I mean, nobody that watches Sarah's stream is a weirdo, but I felt like a weirdo just eating the wings, being like, oh, I should jump on the stream.
But what did you think? Because I was playing Ghostwire, so it's like,
Yeah.
what was the vibe?
Yeah, I liked you walking around and being like, oh, this used to be a Starbucks, and now look how they have like a generic version
We
of
just
Starbucks
get Sarah's cut of this game. It's like Sarah's walking sim tour
Yeah.
of the city.
That's literally what it was. They were like, Sarah, take us to your... And I'm like, and this is where I would come out of the train station if I was taking the subway.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I would come out of the train station if I was taking the... That's supposed to be a lush,
here. Right.
but it's not.
This is where I had to stop and yell at Dan Tack for not helping us navigate the subway to get to Disneyland, like these iconic Shibuya
That's rough.
landmarks. But the point is, Sarah,
It needs a discovery tour, right? Is what it
Yeah.
needs.
That's right.
They should just give you
Oh my
a
God.
version where the map's just open and there's no enemies and you can just walk around, because I would pay for that.
Yeah, the discovery tour,
tours, yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
The
Yeah,
point
yeah.
is, the most intriguing part that I saw from the stream, though, Sarah, was you saying that you were Slenderman's daughter or whatever. You said
No,
you're
I
like-
come from the same county as the girls who committed the Slender Man killings in Wisconsin.
That's a good claim
There were
to
those two
fame.
girls who like stabbed their friend to sacrifice her to Slender Man.
Right.
Same county.
You felt like a kinship, like that could have been you.
No, I was like, oh no, this checks out. They're all crazy.
So it's like in that county, do they have like, what's the county called?
I think
Slender.
it was, yeah, Slenderman County.
Okay. Do they have like at
They
the,
were from Brookfield.
Brookfield? Okay. Do they have like a welcome to Brookfield County and it's just like Slenderman
Slenderman.
cut out like waving? Like are they embracing it at all?
No.
Okay. Well, that's less fun than I thought.
Why would they embrace that? Hanson?
Because he's
Not.
an iconic character. It's like Paul Bunyan. If it was based
He doesn't
on
live
murders.
there. Slenderman doesn't live in Brookfield, Wisconsin.
He's not the mayor
Yeah, no
of
one,
Brookfield.
no one committed murders in the name of Paul Bunyan.
I guarantee
Like, it
you,
was
Kyle,
horrible.
somebody on
sure at
Earth.
least one person did.
Absolutely somebody has. This is for Babe! It's just something like that, you know? Hey, we should finally talk about the biggie. It finally happened, y'all. We finally got a big update on the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, now affectionately called the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Kyle, how did this come across your feed as Zelda's #1 fan? Were you immediately ready to look at every frame of this video and all that fun stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Like at the second it came, I mean, obviously I saw the headlines first, and then I went and saw the video and just absolutely marveled at Anuma's new haircut. I mean, that was huge.
It's
That's
really
what came
good.
across my feed first. Was that Aonuma got a new haircut. That was all over my Twitter feed, and I was like, wait, did something happen? Like, I saw that before I saw that Breath of the Wild
Aonuma?
got delayed.
Right. Well, the sad part is if you actually watch the video, then they explain that Breath of the Wild got delayed to 2023 because of his haircut. He spent so much time focusing on just the
It
individual.
looks really good.
It does look
he
really
had to
good.
get it right.
He's got that salt and pepper style down.
Yeah, maybe best salt and pepper in the game industry. If I may go out on a limb, I think he's got it.
Good. But no, I mean, honestly, the emotional reaction weirdly was like relief almost. Like I
Really?
was like, yeah, I'm totally happy to wait. And maybe it's just me sort of thinking ahead to like end of the year discussions, but even internally, I don't want to have the Breath of the Wild 2 versus Elden Ring debate. I don't want that discussion.
You
Seems
baby.
horrible. And that's not, I mean, I'm not assuming Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, maybe Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be bad. Who knows? But
What?
I was almost kind of relieved that I was like, glad we don't have to I don't have to personally make that decision. I don't have to convince people one way or the other. But like, also, I'm just like, this year's so crazy. Like the rest of the year looks good. Like I don't mind waiting for them to make it better.
Maybe I'm not spending enough time on Reddit or in the wrong pockets of the internet, but have people and the general gaming population calmed down a bit with delays like over the last couple of years?
Anymore.
It's always a good thing.
Yeah, it's and I think also, but also with Zelda in particular, I think A, people are willing to wait, and B, I don't think anyone thought it was coming out this year. Like no one ever really truly believed that.
It is. Yeah, it is. Oh, go ahead.
But I was just I keep going down the rabbit hole of like, then you watch the footage and you're like, okay, this is the same stuff, but then there's, gosh, what a whole 3 or 4 seconds of new stuff, and it's like, it seems silly to be like, oh, 3 or 4 seconds, but like, where people are finding stuff from that. Like the hand, like Link's hand, his whole arm looks like the arm from the original teaser that came out of the ground. It looks like the arm grafts itself onto Link. We got a much better look at it.
And it's got like little nails too, like the nails on the thing are so much cooler than I thought.
There's a symbol on the back of his hand that people are trying to figure out what it is, because they thought maybe it was like Japanese text or kanji or something, but it's not. It's like fictional, whatever it is, but no one knows what it is. And then there's a nice shot of the Master Sword, like kind of destroyed and glowing blue. And like everyone's saying, like it really seems like Fee from Skyward Sword is going to be a factor here just from the coloring and stuff.
Wait, that's no way. From the coloring?
Yeah, it's like glowing blue. Yeah.
Help me out. Fee, she became the Master Sword. What was her deal again?
She is the Master Sword.
She is the Master Sword.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she tells you when your Wiimote is low on batteries too.
That's her secondary classic character. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she also there's a lot of Skyward Sword stuff in Breath of the Wild, more than you'd think. Like it's funny, like that actually in the sort of canon of Zelda, like actually has the sort of the most to say about the sort of like history of Hyrule and stuff like that. And I love that stuff. Like I really nerd out about that kind of stuff when it comes to Zelda. So like I slow down the footage and really look at it. We got a really nice look at Link's face with his new haircut and his new outfit and stuff.
Beautiful.
Like it was such a little bite, but it was enough to get excited about. It's silly. Sarah's making me feel like I'm silly about it by shaking her head.
You are silly. I'm totally with you. I think it's interesting to think too of like, okay, yeah, it's not that much footage, but it has to mean something what they're showing you. And the idea of like, okay,
they don't show it by accident.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some glowing orb and then Link's hand is glowing and they're showing a literal deteriorated weapon. Like they're showing the Master Sword breaking down. And so maybe that's a hint because the VO here at this point, Anuma's saying there's a wider variety of features than even that, including new encounters and new gameplay elements. Because he's talking about like it goes beyond just going to the sky and the ground. So when he's talking about new gameplay elements and stuff, I mean, is it too much of a stretch to think that if they're focusing on showing a deteriorated weapon, that maybe that like glowing orb is some way to like repair weapons? And this is all like talking or hinting towards something with the weapon durability? Sarah, call it right now. What are they trying to convey in that shot?
They're trying to convey, you understand they're delaying the game. Mm-hmm. Here's 3 seconds of the footage we already showed you, but like past it now.
Right.
Please just hold on to this. Make YouTube videos about this. We'll see you in 2023.
That's it. You're saying
and we were grateful.
Yeah, but I think it's hinting at something. It's hinting at some larger feature, and the fact that it's number one piece of feedback I feel like from the last game was I hate breakable weapons, and that one of the very important details they're showing in this video is here's a broken weapon that we're focusing on. Winky, winky. I think that's meaning something. Whether that means
it is the Master Sword,
right?
The one unbreakable weapon with asterisks in the original game,
right? Because how did it work in the original game? It was like I don't remember.
It wasn't as powerful.
It gets
tarnished. Yeah, you'd have to recharge it.
Gotcha. But yeah, still exciting to see. And the weird thing too is then this is now going to be the biggest gap between mainline Zelda games ever, which is wild.
Is that true?
I think so. Yeah, because before it was Twilight Princess to Skyward Sword, I think.
Wow.
Was it 2006
I hadn't even factored that. That's interesting.
2011. But yeah, it's wild to think because I think when this game was first revealed, the kind of vibe was, they're kind of doing a bit of a Majora's Mask of like kind of reusing parts of that world, try and get out the door sooner. So I'm sure COVID is a huge component of this, but it has to make you wonder how much are they shaking up the formula? How much are the new systems just that complicated to work through? How much does the time mechanic mess with all this stuff? So, and also, Jeff, is this the longest we've gone with a game being announced where we do not know the official name? Because we're going on 3 years now of just calling it the sequel to the Breath of the Wild.
I'm sure there's been longer than that.
I don't know. For a code name, I'm curious. But anyway, spring 2023 is what they're saying. So everybody get ready. Nick from Atlanta.
I just forgot of War.
What's that?
And now just God of War.
Honestly,
it's like, look, give me a date or delay it. Like I'm waiting. Just let me know. Just let me know what's going down. Because I feel like those are the biggest like this window, and we're like, really though? Is there actually? So I'm just glad that it's no longer something we have to like really like worry about or take up mental space with. It also gives me more time to procrastinate on finishing the first game, which I still have not finished. And I didn't get this in my draft, so I'm glad this got delayed because now I don't have to suffer losing all the points for it.
Congratulations. Nick from Atlanta writes in, he says, hey, cohorts, who do you think are the people that are most relieved by Breath of the Wild 2's delay? Is it From Software breathing a sigh of relief that they don't have to compete this year for Game of the Year? Reviewers that they don't need to rush through another massive game at the end of the year? Conversely, who's the most worried by the delay? Maybe Nintendo investors or something? I don't know. But yeah, I like that question of just who's breathing the biggest sigh of relief.
Reviewers.
Reviewers?
Yeah, because like, I mean, at the end of the day, like the accolades are nice and stuff, but I don't know how much teams care about that versus like other, like the idea of no one else being like hot enough to compete. Like
it, especially From Software, just seems like they could give zero craps about any of that. Like they make their own weird games and they're in their own, focus, and they are masters of their trade if there ever were any. And I just don't think they're going to be upset that they can't get a MinnMax award this year?
Yes,
because of
they're
Breath
be
of the
furious.
Wild. Come on.
Yeah, he's going to throw his Keeley award right out the window. He's going to be so furious, Miyazaki over there.
The one that he's coveting just constantly.
Petting it.
Keeley.
Yes, he's nestling with it in bed, just like a beautiful maiden. Well, hey, we should probably move on to community questions here, everybody. Janet, would you want to bow out before questions?
Yeah.
All right. Bye. Thanks for being here, Janet. Hey, Sarah, do you know how this whole thing operates?
Does it have to do with patreon.com?
That's right. We exist. This podcast exists because of your support. Going to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. There's a link below. Check it out. Check out the tiers, different options. We have a new month coming up, which means it's the best time ever to jump in with MinnMax. Also, Sarah, if I may tease something in a very kind of funny-esque way, stay tuned to MinnMax next week. It might be a very exciting week for folks. So please, it's a good time to jump in. We'd appreciate it. Also, thank you to some of MinnMax's biggest supporters, including the tabletop game Voices in My Head. It's from Unexpected Games. It's inspired by Pixar's Inside Out. You play as courage, cowardice, honesty, and selfishness. And then one person is the prosecutor in this courtroom. And the prosecutor is trying to send a character named Guy Johnson to prison. And then the rest of the tabletop game is you competing with your friends to control different parts of Guy Johnson's brain to argue about why you shouldn't go to prison. It's a wild game, but if you're very big on theme, I think you'll enjoy Voices in My Head from Unexpected Games. Now, here's the thing. You'll get a free chance to figure out if you will like this game because we are giving away copies on Twitter. Sarah, you have a very good ad read face during this entire thing. It's like a lot of reaction shots. But anyways, if you follow MinnMax Show on Twitter, this Thursday, we will have a way for you to win Voices in My Head. Unexpected Games will actually ship that out to you, so follow us on Twitter and get ready for a free copy of Voices in My Head, the tabletop game to be coming your way. Also, thank you to our dear friends at Fixture Gaming. They want everybody to know about the Fixture S1, which is a switch that you put on your Nintendo Switch Pro controller, or a little clip that you put on there so you can slide the screen on there and then play with the best Nintendo Switch controller on the go with the Fixture S1. There's a link below if you want to check it out. There's a carrying case bundle on Amazon, but by itself it is $35 for this funky thing. And they are working on the Fixture S2 for the OLED model for the Switch as well. So if you're looking for a very convenient and comfortable way to play your Switch on the go, check out the Fixture S1. And tip of the cap to Fixture Gaming for supporting MinnMax for a hell of a long time. Thank you. It's been a fun ride, Fixture Gaming. We'll see you again in the future. Also, thank you to our friends at I Am 8-Bit. They want everybody to know about Genesis Noir, the soundtrack. It is that double vinyl soundtrack for one of my favorite indie games from last year. It is gold foiled, trifold jacket. It has Easter eggs for audio sleuths as well. The album art is by Genesis Noir creator Evan Anthony, and it includes the digital soundtrack, just in case you don't have a record player at home. But you can check that out at I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store, and anything that you buy in this store, if you use the promo code March Madness, no space, March Madness, you get 10% off everything under $100. We got to meet some of the folks last week at GDC that work at I Am 8-Bit and got to check out their physical store at GDC, and it was very fun to finally connect with those folks. So thanks for all the support, I Am 8-Bit, and you can help support them because they are very generous with us and the community, because every single week they ship out something wonderful from their online store to whoever has the best question of the week. Jeff, do you know how this works?
You read a bunch of questions.
Yeah, but where do the questions
And then
come from?
They come from the community.
That's right.
At
And
patreon.com/MinnMax.
and what level support do you need to be to submit a question?
Any level.
That's right. This guy's a pro. So support us in any tier, submit a question. Every week we choose our favorite, and that person wins a wonderful prize. This week, I'm 8-Bit is shipping out the Blazeball soundtrack. It's a double vinyl soundtrack with music by the Garages. So if you want the soundtrack to Blazeball on vinyl, you can check that out. So everybody, please pay attention to each and every question submitted on Patreon, and then we're going to choose our absolute favorite. And everybody watching us live at the Backstage Pass tier, also please help us choose the best question. Whichever question makes the show better. All right, y'all ready for this?
Ready.
Here we go.
Ready.
Okay, just so everyone's nice and confused, Janet decided to come back, and Kyle decided that he had to go. So Janet, welcome back from the ether. You're a champion.
Hello.
Hello. I hope you're ready to answer all the questions exactly as Kyle would have answered them, if that works for you.
That'd be really fun. I'm probably just going to answer them as me, though.
Okay,
But I'll be
well.
thinking of Kyle in my heart and my spirit, as I always am.
And we ask every listener to also think of Kyle in their heart and in their spirit. Eric Bushell writes in and says, hey, everybody. What was the first game you remember owning? Not your siblings' game or a game your parents owned, but the first game that was truly yours, and you still have a copy of that game. Mine was Streets of Rage 2 on the Genesis. He says, I played the NES games before, but those are my sister's games. Yeah, I like the sibling thing. Like, I have two older sisters, but they both weren't really into games outside of like Apple II stuff, and we all kind of owned those together, so I didn't really have that like inheriting games from my siblings thing.
I like how many qualifications you snuck in there at the very end.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Not your siblings'
They have to
game, and
specifically
you
be
still
yours,
own
and
it.
you still have to own them, and you bought them on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm really trying to think, because like I think my first system that was mine was a Game Gear, but I'm trying to think, like it came with columns, I remember. Do you know the Game Gear, Sarah? Really?
What year was it?
Let's see. It's that character that's in the ball in the new version of Monkey Ball. They put a Game Gear in there. The Game Gear, was it 93 or something? I don't know. Let's see. But it's just that handheld Sega thing. It was just a chunky beast, and it went through batteries so fast. But the point was, it came with Super Columns. Remember that? And then I'm trying to think of the first game that I probably bought outside of that. And I think it was Bart versus the World. I think that would have been my go-to stopping point for a Game Gear game.
How old were you?
I don't know. Little baby boy?
37.
Yeah, 37 years old. I don't know, 6 or 7 or something like that. Yeah. Do you all remember the first game you technically owned fully by yourself?
Well, that I still own is like the weird part.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I got rid of a
forget
lot of
that.
my games. For something I still own, probably like Jack and Daxter, because it's like in the though I didn't buy it for myself. It was given to me directly. Like it wasn't a hand-me-down game.
Yeah.
Like probably the PS2 games that I still have, which again most of those I got rid of, but I still have my original like Jack and Daxter like trilogy on the PS2. So that's probably the oldest one. For first that I got, that was just given to me. That is tough. I guess it might still be in that PS2 era, or maybe maybe a Game Boy game or something, because I had, like, we shared and did the hand-me-down console thing for a little while, like with the SNES and the N64, and then I got my PS2 for consoles, but between then I did have my own Game Boy. So my first game might be that Smurfs game I got for my Game Boy Pocket.
Long live the Smurfs game. Jeff,
Yeah.
were you busy Googling what the ball and cup game was called?
Yeah.
Okay.
The old ball and cup. I'm gonna say Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah.
Even though, like my brother definitely played it as well, but I feel like I was probably the driving force in that one.
Yeah.
Go ahead and guess.
I think that's fair. By the way, Game Gear was 1990. I was way off. But I got it late because we weren't a wealthy family. Sarah, do you have one for this?
See, mine would have been Super Smash Bros. Melee, because my first
that's
console
cool.
was the GameCube. But I fail in that I no longer own it because I was a very bad child who would leave my games out next to the GameCube,
Oh.
and somebody stepped on it.
Oh no.
And my mom told me my dad did it so I wouldn't get upset. Because I wouldn't, get mad at my dad for stepping on it. I'd be too scared to, be upset. But
Interesting.
actually, I was an adult that it was my sister.
Ooh, and she would have had it coming. Oh, that would have been brutal.
I knew that I would have gone after her.
That's such a...
Protected
Like those
her.
Slenderman girls.
Yeah.
That was the first Slenderman murder.
I have the box.
That's a tough thing to step on, too. Like they're
Well,
so
yeah,
small.
the GameCube discs were so small.
I think it was intentional. I think she jumped onto it like it was a twister circle.
How do you accidentally like step on it?
Yeah, she's no good. Is your sister cool?
No.
Okay, yeah, she's no good.
She also deleted my Harvest Moon save, so I feel like it feels like it's on purpose.
Yeah, let's turn this entire podcast into just a vendetta podcast against your sister.
Vincent, did you say step on it like a twister circle?
I was trying to think of something like a circle.
Right?
Well, I was trying to think of a circle you stomp on, and my mind immediately went to stepping on like a left foot blue thing. But that's, I don't know. What's a better example? What would you stomp on? A grape? That's probably better. Like a tiny little grape.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How much would you pay to do one of those grape stomping things, Jeff? If I was like, I got one in my backyard, you can stomp grapes and make wine.
I'm not paying you for that.
What? What if I paid you $20? Would you come over and do it?
No.
You need to lighten up, dude. You need to learn how to have fun. Because that'll be a blast. Hey, David Dubs writes in and he says, hey, everybody, are skill trees an outdated piece of game design? A common point in reviews for games that include skill trees like Ghostwire Tokyo is that the combat of the game feels boring until at least half of the skill tree is unlocked. I did see that stream, Sarah, when those skill trees popped up, you immediately were like, F this.
I've just gotten to a point where like if I see a skill tree, I'm like, okay, I don't like skill trees. Unless it's like class base, you know, a la Skyrim, where I can be like, you can like really change what class or like actually change how you play.
Right.
My like bippity boppity boo doing 5% more damage now that I put points into it means nothing to me, and I wish it was more attached just to leveling or story. Like it just seems so micromanaging, and for what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the differentiating factor for me as well. Like if it's a skill tree where I'm getting actual new skills or abilities, then that's cool to me. But the percentage increases, it's like you guys didn't have ideas for a skill tree, but you still put one in there. And that's on you.
Yeah.
One of the skills in Ghostwire is like you can wear 2 bracelets now instead of just 1 bracelet, and it's like, whoa, slow down.
Games are too fun sometimes. Interada writes in and says, howdy cohorts. Do you think Rockstar will take any open world designs from Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring when making Grand Theft Auto 6? Or do you think they'll stick with their own open world philosophies? I think this is a fascinating question. I have thought so little about Grand Theft Auto 6. Just because, I mean, there's rumors that it's 2024, I think, is when it seems like they've paved way for it for the 2K financials and stuff. But I don't know. Yeah. Jeff, do you think they're going to take any? I guess that's just code for even more open, go anywhere.
I feel like that's a 0% chance of like Rockstar is another one of those companies where they do their own thing. They know what they want to do. They've probably been working on it for the past 5 years. And I don't think they're looking around saying, oh, we got to add a glider or, a spectral horse to the next. Like, I think those seeds have been laid so long ago of what they want this next game to do that they're not looking for. And also, I feel like Rockstar, it's out of all the developers, I feel like they would bristle at that idea to begin with. Like if they didn't come up with the idea, I don't think it's going in the game. They would probably be against it, even if it was something they would do.
Right.
Just the idea of someone ever pointing to one of their games and saying, "Oh yeah, they must have been, inspired by Breath of the Wild." I'm sure they'd be like, F that, we're deleting this game off of everyone's hard drives.
But it's weird for a studio's history where they're so clearly inspired by every movie. But I feel like you're right. If you bring up that there's
well, that's completely different.
Right, that's respectable and cool. We're going to base our entire business.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, I think Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring's worlds work so well because of kind of a more subtle narrative. And Rockstar is not known for their backseat narrative. So I don't think so. But it's an interesting question. Eric Dowdy writes in and says, my 8-year-old son and I blasted through the entirety of Kirby and the Forgotten Land this weekend, and the game deserves your respect, he says. So let everybody learn that.
Ben.
And that's right. And he also thought it was amusing when he saw hold Y to spit when you're in mouthful mode. So it got me thinking, what are some of your favorite unsavory button prompts in video games? Unsavory button prompts.
I just got to say, I did notice that. I feel like the entire reason it's called mouthful mode is because it's press Y to like mouthful. because you can't do press Y to like suck or swallow. Like the internet just would not allow that to happen.
Oh,
so that's why they
interesting.
had to come up with this like really bizarre word for it.
But that's what Kirby already does. But I guess, do they say
Yeah,
suck
but they
a
don't
lot?
want that on a button prompt.
Right, and like
I
super
think they say
suck.
inhale for
Inhale.
yeah.
So
Smart.
they kind of
breathe
like
in.
sidestepped it entirely, which I thought was very creative.
That is really smart.
See, gross things. I don't know. I mean, I think the most unsavory thing I can think of that I was prompted to do is that mini game in God of War where you have to like have sex with somebody behind the scenes. I don't know what the
Right.
button prompt was for that though. I don't know if it was like square to have sex or something. Like I don't remember. I feel like it was kind of. They had to put something there, so I imagine it was kind of like weird. So
Yeah.
that one is burned in my mind. I was not a fan.
They called it mouthful mode, I think. The one that I immediately thought of was like Metal Gear Solid 5, like having the prompt for the D horse where you can go, do it! And then he craps, right? Like, so I guess having Snake yell do it at a horse to poop is up there.
Yeah.
Eating in Death Stranding is kind of weird too.
Yeah, that is true.
That's true. A different kind of unsavory, but the press X or whatever to salute in Call of Duty, I think.
F to pay respects.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Different flavor unsavory. By the way, fun.
Some things don't need button prompts. Like sometimes like you don't have to like press button to do this really. Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Just make my character do it.
Yeah, and like where the developers sitting around being like, okay, we got this minute and a half sequence. We got to have some kind of interactivity to it. Oh, like this is it. Okay, now this will fly with gamers. They're having their input for it.
I bet on that press F to pay respects. I think it was sincerely a moment of, I think they thought that it was going to be like a powerful choice. Like you choose when to pay respects. I think that was coming from a sincere place, knowing the studio founders a bit. Steister writes in, he says, hey, MinnMax crew, what is the best-selling game that you've never played? I love this. He says, for example, GTA 5 has sold tens of millions of copies, but I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet. I think free-to-play stuff is confusing. How about we put that right out? You know? Sorry, Sarah.
Because you don't want to say that you didn't play League of Legends. Is that the reason?
I will not admit
Was
on
it
this podcast.
specifically League of Legends?
By the way, it's really funny on our music podcast Crossfade, which Matt Helgeson hosts, who used to be the host of the Game Informer show and whatnot. You should subscribe to it. It's our music podcast. It's fun. But they were talking about, on the last episode, they're talking about a song that was in Arcane, that League of Legends show. And Matt Helgeson is like, he knows everything about music, but for game stuff, he's a little bit checked out these days, you know? And so he like learned that this song was from a League of Legends TV show, and he just got a big laugh and he goes, "Oh boy, how big of a piece of is that?" And like he had no idea that it's like, oh no, it's like sitting at 100% Rotten Tomatoes and everybody loves it. Like, but he had the correct read with those ingredients, I think. Okay, so yeah, what do you think? Best-selling game that you've never played at all? Skyrim. Never even started Skyrim.
Correct. And I looked down, I just Googled like best-selling games and went to like the wiki, which I don't know how accurate it is.
I'm there right now.
You guys read them off and we can like yay or nay?
Yep. Yes, do it. Of course you want to do that, you frickin' horse girl. Okay, here we go. Number one is Minecraft. Janet's playing it recently. All right, there we go. Yay. Grand Theft Auto 5. Haven't finished it, but yay.
Nay, I haven't started it yet. I do have it. I have it there. I went on vacation, so I haven't started it.
Okay.
So
I don't know how to pronounce this next one. Tetris? I mean, come on, what are you doing? I mean, if
Yay.
I'd be
Everyone's
amazed.
like,
Yay.
yay.
every version they put out. Let's go.
Yep. Wii Sports.
I like the mobile version, actually.
I do too. I don't mind mobile Tetris. Okay. I even like, do you remember that weird, funky version of mobile Tetris? We talked about it with Nicole Zivelich a couple times when she was on, but that it was like going for the HQ thing, where it's like a daily Tetris challenge on mobile. I even like that freaky version. Okay. PUBG.
I don't think I actually have, but you said that doesn't count because it's free to play.
Well, it's free to play now, but it wasn't at launch.
Oh.
But you're right, that's a confusing one. So Mario Brothers, I assume, yay. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Nintendo made damn sure that we've all played this game.
Yep, can't dodge it. Jeff, have you played Mario Kart 8?
I played a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, or Yellow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Jeff, really?
Yeah, I played the original a little bit.
Wow. This is mine. We Fit. I don't think
Oh,
that's
same. I
Where I
haven't
get
played it.
off too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I played it.
I don't think I've ever started it. Would that be fun to go back to?
Yeah, I think it would be fun because it'll say that we're all horribly overweight. And that we're literally on the verge of dying.
Okay, cool.
Like in the world of Ring Fit, though, like do I need Wii Fit? I feel like Ring Fit is probably better in every way, right? Like,
I think so. This is interesting. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the next one.
I've played it.
Okay, so everybody's out at this point, right?
Yep.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, here's perfect. Here's perfect question. Mitch says, "Howdy. Because of some circumstances with work, my iPhone will be my primary gaming device for the next couple of weeks. What are your current favorite mobile games? Paid, free, or Apple Arcade recommendations are welcome."
Apple Arcade is like the must. $5 a month, like you can cancel any time. The only thing I don't like about Apple Arcade is that you can't just pay it annually.
Oh, really?
But there's so many great titles. I mean, Grindstone is probably the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best games that I've played in like recent years. It's fantastic. Like a match puzzle game. I'll just kind of name some out because you can look into them further if there's interest. I'm playing Lego Builder's Journey right now on Apple Arcade.
That's kind of cool.
And that one's... It's super beautiful. Like the animations are just incredible. It's this nice little puzzle game. I'm trying to think of other like fire things from Apple Arcade. I made a list back when I was at IGN of the best ones. So I'll try to pull that up.
You're forgetting about the Oregon Trail?
Yeah, Oregon Trail. Yeah, that one. I like that one a lot. Pretty much, honestly, Apple Arcade's just like a key place to start. Even just scrolling through, you'll find like a bunch of stuff. Like I really like Pinball Wizard on there. Yeah. Crossroad Castle is like a platformer that's fun.
Fantasian.
It's like a weird color game.
Yeah, Fantasian, if you like JRPGs from the creator of Final Fantasy, I think that game's solid. I played the first couple hours there.
Overland's on there.
Oh, yeah. My go-to is always just Bejeweled Blitz. Although they have like, the gross free-to-play Bejeweled, but there's some weird legacy version of like Bejeweled Classic that's barely functioning on iPhone these days, and it's loaded with ads. But that's still like every time I have a flight or something, it's like, okay. I will now play Bejeweled while watching The Last Duel and the headrest in front of me. That's like
I really love mode. Dear Reader on Apple Arcade. It's basically like a reading. You can also just straight up read books on there. They have like it's like a reading puzzle game that's really cool. Sayonara Wild Hearts is on Apple Arcade as well, even though I think it's better on console. And there's like there's a game called Hidden Folks that I played a lot on PC that's actually on Apple Arcade as well. And it is so fun and so cute. It is basically an I Spy game. And it's like lightly animated as well. So you can like kind of click it. So it's like an interactive I Spy game. And it's like really nice. Right. The sound design's really odd. But the game is really good.
Huh. Luke writes in, look, this is self-serving, so please forgive me, everybody. Luke writes in, he wasn't the only one, and he said, "Hey, Ben and CLCs, I gotta say, the Secrets of Game Development GDC podcast last week was probably my favorite piece of content you all have ever put out. That level of insider nerdy nonsense was awesome to hear, and it's not something I get from other outlets. I hope some people give Patreon a try, as that podcast is worth the price on its own." Look at that. Unprompted, Luke wrote that, and somebody else wrote it too.
Nice.
What that was is Leo and I, after attending dozens and dozens of panels with game developers at GDC last week, at the end of the week, we then just sat on the hotel bed and just went through all of our notes of the most interesting tidbits, which is a lot of gaming insight and knowledge. So you unlock that at the $5 tier if you're looking for a good piece of content to jump in on. I think it was a fun time. Sassy Little Imp writes in, we finally got the Sassy Little Imp. They write in saying, "I remember when L.A. Noire talked up the use of motion capture to enable the player to detect lies through subtle visual cues. In practice, it looked like the character sniffing a fart every time they lied. I still love the idea, but I haven't seen it done all these years later. What is the best mechanic or innovation that has been attempted but not realized by developers?" Tough.
The one I still go back to, and I guess you can debate whether they pulled it off or not, but it's physics-based destruction on the level of Red Faction Guerrilla.
Yes.
Which was like the one game, I think they did do a great job of it, but I think you even did a video with them, Hanson, where they were talking about just how hard it was to pull off, and it was basically a nightmare, and they would never do it again on the same scale. And,
which is why they made Red Faction Armageddon, and they're like, and now with less destructibility. Everyone's like, boo! Yeah. Did you ever check out Teardown on Steam, Jeffem?
I haven't.
Okay.
No,
I love Teardown.
Do you?
It's really fun. Yeah, you should stream it, Jeffem, if you're going on your... It's really good.
Yeah, Jeffem's on a big kick. He's been streaming on Twitch recently on MinnMax's channel every Thursday. But are you just Googling games where things blow up, destructive games, and that's what you're streaming?
I may have Googled that at one point, yes.
It's very odd. So, hey, they're right in your wheelhouse. I'm trying to think of other things. I thought of like the Poke Walker or like anything where kind of like that exercise can feed back into the game. Outside of like a Pokemon Go or something like that. Like there's something cool about having an exercise peripheral associated with it.
I feel like the before your eyes, anything to do with like eye tracking, I feel like hasn't been fully utilized yet, but also the technology is very hard. But I would love to see more of that. Yeah,
well, isn't there something with like the PSVR 2? I think that has like eye tracking on the inside. And so maybe that would come up with some funky avenues. I don't know. One Armed Wolf writes in and says, I found that any attempt to discuss some of Elden Ring's weaknesses on any public forum has been met with almost universal pushback. Can you all remember a game being more universally adored than Elden Ring?
Portal?
I mean, like,
did anyone have anything bad to say about Portal?
Oh, no, I think Breath of the Wild was more divisive.
Yeah, people were like, there's no dungeons, and I hate that my stick is broken.
Yeah, everybody kept
and I'm
screaming
like, who cares?
Yeah,
Like,
and maybe it was just, being in Game Informer at the time, but yeah, being subjected to that daily debate about whether or not the weapon durability thing sucks. Portal is a very good answer, Janet. I mean, I think that might be right. I mean, what else is there? I mean, there's stuff, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like God of War. I'm trying to think of like the big ones that have just annihilated in reviews recently, but I feel like everything has always come with like some but Elden Ring is just another level.
And especially the fact that Elden Ring is doing it in 2022.
Right.
As opposed to Portal, 15 years ago when people it wasn't quite as, like everyone needs a hot take nowadays. And the fact that there aren't more hot takes complaining about Elden Ring and more contrarians is surprising.
Aaron T, watching us live at the Backstage Pass here, says Mario Galaxy. Or even Mario Odyssey. It is true. I don't think the highs were as high for Mario Odyssey, but nobody that I saw had like one negative thing to say about Mario Odyssey. I don't know. Write in, please. I'm curious to see if you got an answer for that one. Jordan Brown writes in and says, what games have you sold over the years that you most regret getting rid of? For me, it's either Skies of Arcadia Legends, Shadow Hearts, or Lunar Silver Star Story Complete. Great choices. Oh, I love Shadow Hearts. Games you sold that you regret.
I'm trying to think of the ones that I've bought back, because that happens to me like quite a few times.
You buy it back?
Gotten rid of games and then buy them later. Yeah, like I think my brother did that with Mario Odyssey. I think actually, like he bought it and then sold it, and then I think he bought it again and then sold it again. Like just like I'm not gonna play this again. And he's like, what if I want to though? Like let me get it again. So I'd have to just think of like when that's happened. Honestly, a lot of my games I didn't even sell. Embarrassingly, I just got rid of them. Like when I was a kid, we didn't even trade them in. We just kind of like lost them to time. But yeah, at this point, I don't sell anything now unless it's something that I genuinely just did not like, or I really, really, really know I'm never going to play again. Like I enjoyed my time with Gears of War, Gears of War Ultimate or whatever, but I'm not gonna play that again.
Totally.
But also, it only goes for like 50 cents now, so it's like maybe I'll just keep it because whatever.
But I feel like I talked about it before. But there was some deal. Dan Reichert found it years ago. But there was some deal where if you traded in DS games at Target, somehow you got like a crazy amount of money back. Do you remember this, Jeffem? There was for some reason there was just like some window of time where I traded in like a bunch of my DS games, and I really regret it because like, I guess I do I wish I had those old Pokemon saves. Just like that simple thing, like just knowing I have the option to boot up these old things is kind of nice. And now I feel gutted. I guess like all my PlayStation 1 stuff, like I got rid of maybe like half that library. Now it's just kind of hit and miss what I have left over, and it feels gross. But in general, let the past go. Yeah.
I think I still have Donkey Kong Country in a box.
Nice. Nice. Yep. Okay, this is a weird one. Luke Strain writes then, it says, this question was inspired by Sarah's admission of the time she tricked her friend at Mario Kart and was made to apologize. Below are things that I did as a kid that I still feel bad about today. Please tell me if I should feel bad about them or not. All right. Here we go.
Okay. I'm ready to pass judgment.
That's right. I won a Zune at my friend's birthday party from a prize machine, and I didn't give it to him.
That you don't have to feel bad
it's
about
fine.
that.
No, you're good. Luke?
No, it's fair game.
You're absolutely.
And if they made you feel bad?
It was a Zune.
Yeah, I don't like the attitude of any kid that's like, well, it's my birthday, so if anything good happens to anybody here, they have to give it to me.
You have to transfer it to me.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks. In fact, I hate your friend for even suggesting that, if he indeed did.
He's a terrible friend.
I hate him. I can't even choose who I dislike more, Sarah's sister or Luke's friend.
Or this random friend.
Ugh. Anyways, Luke writes in, he says, I convinced my brother to try the Necromancer class in Diablo 2, but was too busy to help him buy gear, so he wasted money on a staff instead of buying a wand like a Necromancer should. I think you're
Can you
fine.
at least give him some tips? Yeah, that's kind of...
Too busy. How busy are you, really? But that's not so bad. He got to.
I mean, did he ask? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I put that on the brother. You can.
Yeah.
You chose to like go for it, and then you didn't follow up on it.
Yeah, yeah. My friend bragged about how good he was at Soul Calibur, so I beat him over and over until he rage quit and stormed out of the room. I think that's fine. He was
That
bragging.
just taught him a valuable life lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Depends on
Don't
how
brag.
mean you were about making them continue. I think I need more context.
Like if they were crying, saying, "I don't want to do this anymore, Luke. I don't want to do
like,
this
you're
anymore."
gonna play again.
Right. You remember how much you bragged? All right. I played on my brother's Dynasty Warriors file without asking him.
Ooh.
That's not cool.
Dynasty Warriors, though, I think you can replay missions in Dynasty Warriors, can't you? I'm pretty sure you can.
But then you gotta like go back and like know which missions got played already.
Yeah.
and, like,
I just can't imagine anyone using my save without asking me about it.
Yeah.
Even though I will admit that I did use my boyfriend's Animal Crossing island to time travel before I was willing to do it on my own island, and he got really upset when he found out that I was doing it. I didn't think
you
he'd
didn't
care.
tell him that you were doing it?
That's
no, I'm a horrible
unforgivable.
Time
person.
traveling?
Yeah,
Ooh,
I mean, he
Janet.
didn't notice. He was never gonna know. He was
Straight
never
to
gonna
jail,
know.
Janet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I felt bad because I'm like, oh, I genuinely thought he wouldn't care. I'm like, you haven't played this game in like ever. You beat it and you haven't played it since.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, fair enough. So yeah, that was wrong of me, wrong of this guy too.
But I think
Don't play people's stuff without
Well,
asking.
Yeah, that's true. But I think there's a huge difference between story-based game. If this was like an RPG and you like did a dungeon or something, like that's bad. That's like
Yeah, the difference between playing on someone's thing and time crimes is
Time crimes.
huge.
Look, I'm not saying that we're 1-to-1, but we're cut from the same jank cloth.
Okay.
You know,
I
like
did something like that too.
why not just ask? Like, you know, and that's what I regret. Where I'm like, you know what? If I asked, I would have known then that it would have. You know, I assumed it'd be fine. Don't assume. Just ask,
yeah.
or don't
Yeah.
get caught.
I did something like that too with The Sims 4. I started a new family in my sister's neighborhood on the same game, and she had a Sim family in there. And then when I was playing my family, her family was aging, so she came back and everybody was dead, essentially, because I was like progressing time with my family.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was a little. I was like, I guess you could just like start again.
Yeah. I think Luke's clear. I think they're still.
Those all seem like very old crimes. to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Tell us some darker crimes, Luke, and then we'll judge whether or not your soul is pure or whatever we do on this podcast. Mike Lynch writes in and says, "Hey y'all, I love this one, Mike. I don't even want to read it because I like it too much. I just like savoring it myself. But anyways, I guess Mike says, of the three major video game console developers, Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, who do you think panders to their audience the most?" It's a good...
How are we defining pandering here?
Jeff, you're a dictionary. How do you define pander?
Well, I was kind of wondering that too, because my first instinct was Nintendo, but
Yeah.
Nintendo doesn't give they
Yes.
give so little that
Yes.
I wouldn't call it pandering. It's just Nintendo fans eat it up so much.
So it's the definition of pander: to gratify or indulge an immoral or distasteful desire, need, or habit of a person with such a desire, etc. So I think that indulge, I think, is a good way of looking at this. Because, yeah, Nintendo will be like, I don't know, here's a Mario button you can wear, and here's a t-shirt with a mushroom on it. You know, I feel like there's a certain amount, but then not giving in to people screaming about F-Zero for what feels like 57 years at this point. Like, there's those things that it doesn't...
Although Sarah does have a picture of Froggy Chair on her microphone right now, and they indulged on that one.
That is
That's
true. Yeah,
we were like the one time Nintendo pandered.
I will
And it
say,
works.
Got it on tape.
so like looking at like the Merriam-Webster dictionary, which is like my preferred dictionary when I have to look up stuff.
La-di-da.
You guys have preferred
Yes, I'm very
dictionary?
fancy.
No.
Yeah, I even
Oh
bought
my
the
God.
version of it on my phone for a while because I wanted it without ads. Anyway, so for the first definition, the gratification of others' desires, my first thought is Microsoft because I think they're the most like
Yeah.
their brand is about we're the good guys. We're consumer friendly. We want everyone to play wherever. And like, what's your favorite game? Ours is a PlayStation game because we're really nice. And like all the games are free. Like, there's no offense to Microsoft. Like that's their brand. And I like Game Pass Ultimate, but that is like, that's facts. Like that's how they, and they're very successful with it.
Yeah.
If we're doing though, exploiting the weaknesses of others, definitely Nintendo. Nintendo will clean me out. They're running me dry. Like I'm down bad for Nintendo, and they get whatever they want from me, no matter what. I have almost no capacity to have any morality with this company. So that's that for that end.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think you're right. You're right. Just for like the nickel and diming, like, hey, buy this game again, buy this game again. Now it's on a new service. Now get Nintendo Switch Online. We're going to roll this stuff out to you for the 8th time.
Why do I have a Mario Game & Watch?
Right.
There's no answer to that.
No one knows. No one knows. So I think you're right, but I think on like the core just pandering, like I think you're right with Xbox. I think that is the right call. Not that it's all a bad thing. But it feels like that tone is coming across.
Nintendo is more extortion.
Yes.
You want this froggy chair? You want it?
They exploit the weaknesses.
Right.
And they're like, you're going to pay for it and you're going to thank me. You're going to beg to give me money and I'm not going to let you. Crawl for it. And I'm down there. I'm crawling through the dirt and I'm like, I don't know. I think this house, I'm critiquing as I crawl, but I'm still crawling. Like, I'm down there with like all of everybody else.
Get in the line with everyone else who's crawling.
Yep.
Yes. And I'm like, I'm just letting y'all know that I don't think we should be down here, but also like, get out the way because I'm down here in the dirt with you. So
That's right.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's rough. Justin Ray writes in and says, being content creators, I guess that's what we are, everybody. Do you find it difficult? By the way, I'm doing it as I'm doing it, but I realize I have such a tough time reading questions without commenting on the questions as I go. I should stop doing that. Okay, Justin Ray. We appreciate you, Justin Ray. Says, being content creators, do you find it difficult to become friends with someone who is a big fan of your content because they already know so much about you? Has anybody run into this? I don't think I really have. Maybe I just don't make new friends. But I don't think
that's what I was gonna say. I was like,
that was my
who
answer.
are these friends?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much been fine. I mean, I haven't had too many people that I feel like I became friends with them and they were fans of my content, other than some of my moderators. Like we just kind of like, would talk a lot and like have became like cordial and friendly. Yeah. And a lot of them also do content. So then it also feels a little bit more like, oh, you're just also someone else in the space, like doing work, and we both do work in the space, and it's not that big a deal. I guess the one like maybe weird thing is that like that I'm fine with being friends with people that are fans of my content. I just don't want to be friends with someone who wants to be my friend because of my content. Like I feel like I formed those relationships just through, they're like, oh yeah, I like your work, and we talked, and it was just a very natural progression. And I've also become friends with people that I like their content. Like that's how I met Kelsey from her podcast. But I wasn't like, I love Kelsey's podcast and now I want her to love me. Like that's weird. That's weird. Like, it's like I didn't know her. I met her and we became friends. So I think as long as people know that line, like I don't have any problem of, oh, you watch my podcast or you like watch my streams or anything.
Yeah, I had a weird situation where there's somebody who I haven't seen for a long time that like moved back to Minneapolis. I was like, hey, do you want to hang out soon? And they're like, yeah, by the way, I was just listening to your GDC podcast. It was like those weird things like, oh, that's so weird that like, I think where this strikes me as weird, where it comes up a lot in my life is I feel like my friends that listen to this podcast, it's bizarre because I bet they feel like we hang out more than we do. Like if I listened to a podcast every week and it was like 2 hours of star of Hitman 3 Grant talking about his thoughts on games, I'd be like, I don't need to hang out with Grant that much. I feel like I hang out with him every week when I listen to the podcast. And that's why none of my friends want to hang out with me, I think is what I'm trying to come to the conclusion of. Yeah.
Yeah.
No other reason.
That's right. By the way, I don't know if this is the big news, but Crowboy just said that apparently NetEase, the Chinese company, is going to acquire Quantic Dream. Live reaction on the podcast. Jeffem, it's tough to tell.
I'm not frozen.
Yeah, it's decidedly not frozen. Just people.
That is not the.
I mean, that's a big acquisition.
That's not the big news.
I mean, did you know about that, Janet?
No, but again, if I knew anything, I wouldn't say that I knew anything. But I don't think that's big enough to be anything. All right. I mean, that's like, it's interesting, but I don't. If that's the big thing. Yeah. Someone overhyped how big that is.
And just to keep teasing people, this is some good stuff. I know of a big thing, but I don't think it fits the wheelhouse of other people. and what they're teasing. So I'm waiting for that other big thing to drop. Everyone's on pins and
I
needles.
wish that this world wasn't this way. I don't really like that we're just sitting here floating in space.
You're right.
That's
And people are like, I
the
heard
conclusion
something
Yeah.
might transpire.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
you're right,
I don't really
that
want to
sucks.
ask you because then I feel like I'm making you like tell me something that maybe you don't want to tell me, but then you're also kind of not telling me. And it's just,
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like
Everybody
it.
I just
keep their
know
big
nothing.
things to themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, I'm getting this from the Backstage Pass, and it said that it might be happening. So all
Right now?
yeah, that the Quantic Dream thing might not be true. All right, we'll look into this. Okay, back to business, everybody. Call off the announcements. We're not all super excited. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Rainbow Six Siege is adding Rick and Morty skins. Okay,
Oh, there you go.
Fork writes in and says, "Hey everybody, the sequel to Alien is Aliens. What game should have a sequel where the only thing added to the name is an S?"
Breath of the Wild.
It's just called The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wilds. That
Yeah, because there's one in the sky
works.
now.
that is,
works.
and that was the spoiler they didn't want to reveal. That's good. I love this question, and I am very eager to see YouTube comments with people throwing in their suggestions of what would be the funniest way. Because I'm trying to think, it had to have happened? Because like movie reboots,
Mario plus Rabbids is.
Infamouses. It has to have happened in the gaming space where they make a sequel and then put an S at the end. But I can't think of Street Fighters, Ecos, Tomb Raiders. There has to be an example in the video game industry of a sequel where they added co-op and they put an S on the end. It has to be out there.
It Takes Twos. And it's like 2 pairs of twos. It's 4 people now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Help us out. Help us out, Hive Mind of the Internet, please. Okay, Ty McWhirter writes in with a very bold one here. People in the Backstage Pass. StarCraft's, Pokemon's, Gods of War, Breaths of the Wild. They should have removed the S from Demon Souls. Yes, just call it Demon Souls. That would have been cool. Insomniac, Spiders, man. Solid suggestions, everybody. So Ty,
The answer is Super Monkey Ball.
Oh my God.
did they actually release one called Super Monkey Balls?
No, but they should.
Okay, you're right. Ty McWhirter writes in and says, "Hey everybody, I'm planning on proposing to my girlfriend in September." By the way, no one spoil this for Ty's girlfriend, please. And I would like to look my best for what will be a milestone moment in our lives. So I'm submitting my Better Quest goal from now until proposal time: lose weight. I know it's not the most original, I know, but I'm putting it out there publicly for some accountability. If anyone has any tips, I'd greatly appreciate it. Yeah, congratulations, Ty. That's a fun thing. Thanks for setting a goal with Better Quest. You can jump in the Discord channel and get extra motivation. I'm sure people in there would be eager to share some healthy tips for losing weight. I did one this last month for losing a couple pounds. Nothing too drastic, but cut down drinking to just one night a week. Turns out if you drink regularly, that's a huge reason that you've been packing on some weight. And then also, this was a bold one: no snacks was the policy, so that you can only eat during mealtime. But it's very tough, like going to like a board game night and stuff, and it's like a big table of snacks, and you just have to sit there on your hands the whole time. But that's a good 1-2 punch, I think, just for starting somewhere if you want to lose a little bit of weight. Has anybody ever pushed for weight loss here?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to eat healthier, which is what has. I will fluctuate by like 20 pounds. I don't know how much you can actually tell.
Not at all.
But there are definitely pictures where I can see it in my face. But really, the answer is always just make more meals yourself, and you're good.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about it.
You're right.
I've always like just been super thin, so like I don't do any like weight loss stuff, but I did do Whole30 once with my family, and I figured like, oh, well, I can still benefit from like maybe eating better, even though I'm not like trying to lose weight. And I think that's pretty effective, just because you just like cut out a lot of stuff that is like super calorie intensive without also doing anything so dramatic where it's like you're just drinking all your meals or anything. Like all the food's just totally normal. Like it's just they have to watch some of the ingredients and be more mindful of them.
Yeah.
And there's like a book for it. Like the whole 30 book has like recipes and stuff that you can take from there, and that's like what we used. So that can be helpful, or maybe even just incorporating some of those meals into what you cook could be something useful if you don't want to do the whole thing. Because I will say the whole thing is quite challenging because it's like, and it is also like, oh, it's 30 days. So there's the whole debate, which the book gets into too, of like how you should use this and what makes sense and what's healthy versus like, oh, I'm going to just do this for 3 days and then go hard on the next day and just drink a bunch of stuff, So something that to potentially look into if you're looking for options or ways to go about things.
Thinking about Jeffem at his heaviest, I had a vision of like, I wonder if I've ever seen a picture of Jeffem at his heaviest. And then I had this flash of a vision that I completely forgot about. Did you all know that Jeffem used to have super duper long hair? Like John Romero hair?
It wasn't that long.
How long was it, Jeffem?
It was down to my shoulders. Yeah.
Can that be the podcast photo for this week?
Oh my God.
Do you have evidence of that?
If it gets me out of having to do a selfie this week, then
yeah, we do.
Go for it.
Yeah,
Follow
is
us on
Kyle still on
Instagram.
vacation in those photos? But I live for Kyle's old vacation photos on that Instagram
Hawaii
carousel.
ones?
Yes.
For Instagram, by the way, if you don't follow us on Instagram, every time the podcast goes live, we all post selfies. And also, I do a daily video update on what we're working on just to hold us accountable. So you can follow us on Instagram. But yeah, Jeffem, will you post your hair pic on that Instagram feed?
I mean, I don't have it. Do you?
You don't have
Where'd
any
you
picture?
see it?
I feel like I've seen it. Is it on Facebook? You don't have any picture of yourself with long hair? That seems impossible.
I mean, it was so long ago, it would be a physical photo. And I don't have those photos. My mom might have a photo of it.
Okay, so follow us on Instagram for maybe a picture of Jeffem with long hair.
If you don't have it, Hanson,
Why
then
would I
they're
have
not getting it.
Why would I have it?
When-
Why is
when
Ben in
did you
charge of
see
being
it?
like the secretary of our histories
Did I-
here?
did I just-
Hanson is like the collector of embarrassing
Historian.
photos.
That's right.
Yeah.
The historian of embarrassment, please. I don't know. Maybe you just described it in such vivid detail. I conjured it in my mind. Maybe I never saw this hidden, dirty Polaroid that you've been trying to hide.
Do an artistic rendering of like, this is what we think it looked like when it was,
Right. Okay, Muffin Crumbs writes in and says, hey, MinnMax, I've got a game for you. Janet, you're going to hate this so much, but here we go. I'm going to give you a word, and then you each have to come up with the name of a video game that has that word in the title. If you can't come up with a title or you repeat a name already mentioned, you're out. Last person
Why
standing.
would I hate this?
Because I feel like you hate trivia and being put on the spot and stuff.
No, I don't hate trivia. I'm bad at it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I hate it.
Okay,
I like
gotcha.
it, but it doesn't like me.
Okay, so we have to name a video game with these in the title. Now, my question is, I can see the list. There's no list of games. Should I compete as well?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
None of this is real. It's okay.
Yeah. We're just bits in your ears. Okay, here we go. Jeffem, Ghost.
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Great. Sarah?
It should be easier. Every thought has left my brain that has ever existed.
Yep. Hang on.
Forever.
Okay. No Googling, obviously. I guess, yeah. Janet, if you got one, you can jump in.
Janet, you can
Tsushima?
go.
Yep.
Oh, God.
I'll go StarCraft Ghost. Sarah?
I don't have thoughts.
Okay. Are you tapping out
Ghosts
for the
and
Ghost
Goblins?
one? Oh,
I'm tapping.
okay.
That's a good one.
There's got to be more Ghost.
StarCraft Ghost?
I already said that. Ghost Recon.
I can't remember anything
man.
beyond
Yeah.
the past
Yeah.
15 seconds.
Ghost Recon Wildlands, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Ghost Recon
We
Future
can just
Soldier.
count it as one.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to keep going. Call of Duty Ghost, Backstage Pass says. Yes, of course. Okay. So all we know for sure is Sarah lost super bad in that round. Okay, here we go. Star. Sarah, kick it off. You got the first one.
Star Fox.
Great. I'm going to go with StarCraft. Janet?
Is Star Killer something?
Well, that's a character in Force Unleashed. So I'm going to go with
Star
no.
Wars, the
Star Wars, the
Lego Star Wars.
Lego Star Wars.
All of the Star Wars.
Yeah, that's just Star Wars would be here all day. Sarah, that's all of the
Claimed.
Star Wars. Yep. All right, Jeff, I'm big Star boy. Here we go.
Star Ocean.
Very good. Very good.
That's a good one.
I saw one in the backstage pass, so I'm not going to use it yet.
Yet.
Oh, Star Tropics.
Kirby Star Allies?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's good.
Super Mario All-Stars.
Yep.
Mario Party Superstars. Is
Yeah.
that the name of the game?
I think so. Yeah.
I feel like it was.
Star Trek, the co-op game from 2009 or 11 or something. All right, now let's look at the chat.
Stars and Stripes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's probably something. Starfield, Hugo brings up, obviously. Yep,
Yeah, Starfield's a good one.
Okay, Star's good.
Star Citizen?
Star Citizen! Excellent. All right, Drive.
Driver San Francisco.
Yeah. Test Drive. Unlimited.
Is the driver something?
The driver.
Well, the
Getaway?
driver is, yeah. Is
Drive
just
Club
overall
something?
serious.
Like I'm
Drive
just thinking
Club-
of
Look, that is something that Sony's been asking for a long time as well. Is Drive Club something? The answer is yes. We don't know what it is.
Overdrive?
Sunset
That's gotta be
Overdrive.
something, right?
Nice.
Sunset
Yeah,
Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, that's good. The Dreepest Drive.
cute.
Thanks. Hey,
Probably a thing.
okay, this next one is going to be brutal. Super.
Super
Every
Mario
Super Nintendo
Galaxy.
Super Monkey Ball.
We could be here all day. Super
Mario Party
Street
Superstar.
Fighter. Ooh, very good. Okay, yeah, Super is infinite. Okay, this one, let's treat deadly serious. The competition goes on. Metal. Sarah, you kick it off.
Metal Gear Solid 5.
Great.
Metal Gear Solid.
Okay, Sarah.
All the other Metal Gear Solid
Yep,
games.
Sarah's claimed all of it. I'm going to go with Metal Arms, Glitch in the System.
Metal Slug?
Medal of Honor? No, that's metal, not metal.
We'll count it. That's we don't know how to spell.
I'll be honest, I only had Metal Slug, and then I was like, I got nothing after that. I'm gassed after having Metal Slug.
Miss Merriam-Webster over here.
Yeah, that's why I
Heavy
have the
Metal?
app.
Is Heavy Metal a game?
It's gotta be.
Twisted Metal.
Oh!
That's what I was going to say.
Of course.
It's gone now.
It's gone now. Metal Wolf Chaos, Backstage Pass brings up. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Muffin Crumbs, for writing in and testing all of our brain power. What do y'all like for question of the week?
That one was fun. I like the betrayals, like Judge My Sins.
I like
that was
Judge
cool.
My Sins,
I think
too.
people should write in their gaming sins.
Yes.
Write in your gaming sins, and
Yes.
we will pass judgment on whether
Yeah.
you
Yep.
will cleanse you of them or not.
I love that. All right, Luke Strain, congratulations. You just won a vinyl soundtrack from I Am 8-Bit. All right, here we go, everybody. It's time for something we call Get a Load of This. Now, Janet, because you're last second hot swap, pressure's off if you don't have anything. But
Yeah,
hey-
I don't have one.
Okay,
but
that's fine. Hey, I got
Go
one
on.
from the Wonder of Science Twitter account. Get a load of this, everybody. They tweeted out this frickin' thing. You never stop being amazed by planet Earth. It's an amazing octopus stretching its tentacles to form a huge balloon of around 600 meters. Oh, at a depth of around 1,600 meters. Have you all seen this?
Is that the octopus in Animal Crossing?
No, this looks like a real live octopus. But there's a link below in the description, and it's just a bizarre, messed up looking octopus that then somehow makes a bubble by putting its hands. Have you seen this, Jeffem?
No.
Okay, well, Janet,
Sounds freakish.
Janet, have you seen this? Can I send it to you and you can react to it, and that'll be your get a load of this?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
just the reaction. Okay, great. So just watch it inflate and then all that fun stuff. But check
scared.
out link in the description, everybody. Jeffem, you got one?
Yeah, get a load of this. Well, there's a get a load of this, and then there's a meta get a load of this.
Love
The get a load of this is there was a popular blockchain game, Axie Infinity, that suffered a $625 million exploit.
What?
A bunch of people's Ethereum got stolen from it. The meta get a load of this is the website that was kind of, it aggregated this story and many other. It's called Web3 is Going Just Great, and it's just it collects all these stories about blockchain technology and how it's all a huge scam. But the fun thing about it is that as you scroll through their feed of stories, it has a running total, like a little tally at the bottom with a big, fire emoji next to it. And it aggregates all the amount of money that has just been ripped off of people.
Oof.
And so the feed's a little broken now because it immediately goes to like $625 million.
Yeah.
But normally it's fun to just scroll through and see how, like, the amazing graph that is happening in this space.
Jesus. Good times.
That game specifically was being heralded as like the great future of,
really?
cyber, because like cyber currencies, because people were like doing it as their full-time jobs. Like you could make enough money from this game, grinding through this game, that you could live off of it in some other countries.
Oh my God.
People were like, this was their livelihood.
Yeesh.
That's insane. Yeah.
You got one, Sarah?
Yeah, get a load of this. Today, Dyson announced the Dyson Zone, which is a sound canceling headset that also purifies air that you can breathe in. It is a air purifying headset. It's got 2 little fans on the side, and then this little like mask nozzle that goes over your mouth and nose. It doesn't touch them, but it purifies the air. And they're saying it's not, and it's been in development for 6 years, and it's not an April Fool's joke. So please stop saying it's an April Fool's joke, because apparently this is very serious.
If you, like Jeffem, if you lived your life and only breathed air from like Switzerland in 1650, remote lake in the mountains, versus you living your life now, do you think you'd live for an extra second? Like, do you think breathing like just like the crispest, best air for your entire life would have any impact? Or are you still just going to get hit by a bus at age 40?
Well, I'm 40 now. So
Oh no! Oh no! I'm sorry. The curse of the bus.
Wow.
Do you think that's a thing?
Came out of nowhere.
I mean, like,
Get isekai'd.
so it would be me living in modern times, but breathing really old air.
I'm just saying hypothetically, like how much does air quality? I understand if you live in
had
like a
good
super polluted.
air.
I mean, poor air.
I'm sure it makes a difference.
significantly-
Yeah,
poor
yeah.
air would significantly affect your health.
But like Minneapolis air, which is fine.
Minneapolis air is probably fine. Los Angeles,
Yeah.
we ran into some issues with the fire.
And
Tokyo also,
actually,
we ran into pollution issues from China.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
for like a week, like pollution got blown over Tokyo, and we all had to wear masks.
Oh wow.
yeah, Minneapolis air hasn't been that great either. We had all kinds
that
of
is
warnings
true.
during the summer. And
Ooh, when Canada had those fires.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And when having a baby, that was like an actual, more of a concern. I don't know how, to your question, I don't know how much of an impact it has, but when you have a newborn infant, it's like, I don't want to go out in the poison smog air with my
I
baby.
can't believe I forgot about the poison smog day. This podcast is long enough. We don't need to get hypothetical about air. Hey, Janet, did you check
But
out
now I want to know, would you guys leave the vault then in Fallout? It's kind of the same vibes, right? It's
Does the
like,
vault have video games?
no.
Yeah. It has cake, I think, right?
Sure, but you ate most of it.
Well, then
To
I'd
be fair,
probably-
I don't know that there were video games outside of the vault either, though, in Fallout.
That's what I was going to mention that. But like, but there's like the allure of maybe. Also, I did watch the weird octopus exploding. I didn't like it. It was weird and upsetting.
Okay.
And I guess my only get a load of this is my marathon medal. Boom.
Hey,
I ran it.
look at
That's why I
that.
was
There
gone last week. I was relaxing from it.
Hell yeah.
Yay.
You can check out the Patreon exclusive podcast, Party Chat, that debuts every week, where we talk about your marathon, when we talk about the Oscars as well. So if you're clamoring for us to talk about a sweet Will Smith slap, we unpack that all as best that we can in that Party Chat episode. Jeff, you got one from the community?
Yeah, get a load of this. This is dumb.
Okay.
This is from Ken O.D. It's a tweet by Rachel Page, which I guess it doesn't really have much to do with her. But she says, yes, I absolutely needed Paul Rudd to once again prank Conan with the Mac and Me bit, but this time on a podcast with Conan just screaming the whole time, you can't do this on a podcast.
Oh, and there's a new episode of Conan Needs a Friend?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't listened to that yet.
He was on the audio-only podcast and legitimately fooled Conan, which you'd expect him to not fall for it at this point.
That's so good. That's excellent. Well, hey, thank you everybody for watching or listening to this episode of the podcast, and thank you to everybody who is at the Game Champion tier. Not to be confused with the Jane Campion tier, Best Director. But hang on, hold for laughter, hold for laughter.
Keep
Remain
holding.
post.
Okay, we'll find it somewhere. Anyways, the Game Champion tier, everybody, if you're at the $50 tier at MinnMax, you help support us in a big bad way, and you can claim yourself as the champion of any game under the sun. Claim any game, and you're going to be, not only do we tweet that you're the Game Champion, we declare you the champion on the podcast, and also you're in the description of every MinnMax video and podcast listed as the champion, and there might be a bonus thing as well. So thank you to Thomas, who chose out of any game under the sun to be the official game champion for Persona 5 Royal. Great choice, Thomas. Great choice. Also, Steve Bamdad declared himself the game champion of Destiny 2 The Witch Queen. So don't even think about it, anybody else, because that one is Steve Bamdad. So add your name to that list, and it'll be running throughout all of April if you jump in soon enough on Patreon. We appreciate it, everybody. Hey, that's a podcast. Good job, crew. Hope you enjoyed it. Light applause. How do we normally end these things? Sarah, do you have wise words of wisdom for anybody?
No, but I really want to hear other people's gaming sins.
Yeah, please write in with those
Genuinely
sins.
tell me, and I will let you know if you're absolved or not.
Yep.
I pass harsh judgment.
If the podcast was nothing but gaming sins and missed joke opportunities, that's heaven. that's good podcasting, everybody.
We'd have a podcast.
We'd have a hell of a podcast. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Stay tuned for a reveal next week, an announcement from MinnMax, so that should be exciting. It's a good, positive thing, so I hope you all enjoy it. But until next time, be good, have fun, let's go.